Superintendent, I hope you're ready for mouth-watering.
I don't know if there's more of an accurate depiction of Madison Square Garden, but we're going to get more into that story of Chris Drury being extended and much more, and the crazy NHL playoffs. And I, of course, am your host, Mark Williams, whose bracket is nearly in shambles at this moment, joined by the host of the Final Buzzer, Mr. John Fulkowski. How's your bracket?
You might as well just call me Super Nintendo Chalmers because my bracket is pretty much shot to shit.
And, of course, Jim Behringer from where you are. There you are. From Full Tilt NHL. Jim, how are you doing? How's your bracket look?
I mean, my bracket looks good because I haven't done one since 2015 when I won the whole thing and picked everything right. So my bracket looks pretty good since, I'm like Bob McKenzie. I refuse to pick players now and winners and all that stuff since you walk off into the sunset. So, yeah, I mean, playoffs are great right now. Some more handshakes potentially here on Thursday night. We had 2 more series wrap up. Seems like we're getting closer and closer finally to the start of the second round.
Yeah, and what a first round it's been already. That's actually where we're going to be leading off, going right into the A block, everybody. And the A block, of course, is brought to you by SeatGeek. Use the promo code Big Apple Hockey for $20 off your first order. And Big Apple Hockey shirts and trucker hats are available. Click the link down below. But let's go to that surprising, absolutely shocking first round, because a series we expected to be a little bit longer, and it was hard to predict anyway. Florida Panthers last night defeat the Tampa Bay Lightning 6-3. They win the series in 5. Me, Phil, and Anthony all had the Lightning coming out of the East. Phil, let's start with you. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much did the result shock you that it was in 5? And pretty convincing.
On a scale of 1 to 10, like Chris Benoit.
Wow.
Yeah, that's geez. Yeah. You literally could just give the throat slash because
there it is. There it is.
My bracket is just gone now. But yeah, it's just oof. I thought with Tampa that the defense had finally been improved. Bringing back McDonough, bringing in Moser, there was more depth on defense. Florida just plays too fast and too aggressive of a game for a lot of teams, and they did to Tampa what they've been doing to everybody for the last few seasons now. It's just you can't stop that forecheck. Once that forecheck gets going, that's it. That's it. I'm going to star that comment for you, Joe. I like that. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. But it just, when you have that much, not only that, but I thought that with Tampa, with Florida losing some of their guys like Lomberg and Stenlund and guys like that, and Oliver Ekman-Larsson, that they weren't going to have the depth that they had previously, and that's where I thought Tampa had closed the gap. And I thought that an in-net Vasilevsky would be able to, overcome, Bobrovsky, but just too much from Florida. Just the forecheck is just too much. Their system works. Their philosophy works. Get pucks deep, go in, win the 50-50 races, retrieve the puck, set up the forecheck, and then grind away at the defense and wear them down. Kind of reminds me of any New York Giants fans in here. New York Giants, when they had the Earth, Wind, and Fire running back trio of Brandon Jacobs, Derek Ward, and Ahmad Bradshaw, Brandon Jacobs would come in, and he would start off the games, and he would absolutely wear down the front seven of whatever defense he was playing against. He was just 6'5", 275 pounds, just a Mack truck. And then Derek Ward and Ahmad Bradshaw would come in and slice up tired defenses. And that's basically what Florida does to you. It's that forecheck is just, it wears your defense out. It wears your forwards out because your forwards are spending the majority of their times on their shifts in their own zone. And, I mean, Ray Ferraro said this best. That wears out any forward, no matter who the forward is. whether it's Nikita Kucherov, whether it's Connor McDavid, whether it's Nathan McKinnon. It wears them out. And, yeah, so that's it's a lot to deal with. Florida has all the pieces. They still have the coach. They still have the mentality, the will, the way that they play. I mean, they're just built for success.
Yeah, and again, this is a team that a couple years ago won the President's Trophy, went out in the second round to the Tampa Bay Lightning, and took a hard look in the mirror and changed things. Jim, what do you think about this series? How shocking was it, or was it not shocking at all?
I mean, a little bit shocking because, well, I think everything changed in Game 4, right? 2 goals, 11 seconds. I think that really just took the wind out of the sails of the Tampa Bay Lightning because it looked like they were going to win that game. You know, again, kids, get the puck out of your zone. Simple, fundamental hockey. Jake Getzel, I'm looking at you. Nikita Kucherov's been doing it all year. He just doesn't play well in his own zone for some reason. And again, it cost the Tampa Bay Lightning again in Game 5. Bad turnover. Don't get it out, and boom, it's in the net. And yeah, Tampa fought hard in Game 5, but let's be honest. The Florida Panthers are the new kings of Florida, and Florida's the new state of hockey. They took that mantle away from the Tampa Bay Lightning, and they're not giving it back. They want to go back and three-peat. Go back to the final 3 years in a row. They want to go back-to-back. Yeah, I mean, Phil mentioned it, right? Like all the guys that they lost. You know, Oliver Ekman-Larsson, who's going to replace him? Oh, I'll just go get Seth Jones, right? Like he'll just fill in. And he's going to score goals, right? And we'll go get Nate Schmidt too, right? Why not, right? Like he's a good depth add. Then when we did the trade deadline, we know Brad Marchand goes down to Florida. You know, he's filled in really nicely. He's rejuvenated. All the load management, it didn't matter where they were going to finish. You knew come Game 1, Florida Panthers were going to be what they were. Matthew Tkachuk, you know, not even calling it a rivalry. I mean, to a point, he's right. But again, Florida's won the last 3 playoff series. You know, now they're going back and forth. Before Florida was on the other side of this thing, and Tampa was beating them up all the time. So now the script is flipped. It's the Panthers' turn, and look, the Lightning have some question marks because, you know, the big topic when I always come on this show is goaltending, and we talk about Igor Shesterkin in New York. You know, guy in Winnipeg is getting criticized for his play. You know, Andrei Vasilevsky's been touted as one of the best goalies in the world. His play in the playoffs recently for Tampa, not the best, to quote Louis Domingue.
Spicy fork.
Yeah.
I mean, Jim, you look at these numbers in the playoffs. I'm going to go right with what you're saying. 8.72 save percentage, 3.27 goals against. I mean, that's not good. And yeah, some of those goals are like the Matt Tkachuk goal where he was wide open in front and was able to deke him down at least 3 times and then put the puck behind him. So some of that wasn't all on him, but he's that guy that's paid to make the big save. And especially last night against Sam Bennett, I could have scored that goal. And that's how easy he made it. And if it sounds like I'm ripping him on that, yeah. Because that's a bad goal. Yeah. Stuart Skinner looks at that and goes, geez, that's a bad goal. Now, you look at Tampa, we looked at them and just said, they're a wagon. Florida's got these pieces. We don't know whether or not they're going to be ready. Then you lose Ekblad for 2 games because of the big hit that he threw on Hagel and knocking Hagel out. And then you're like, well, all these things, they got to integrate. You got to integrate Marchand. You got to get Tkachuk back. Tkachuk doesn't care. Tkachuk just picked up right where he left off. This team is ready to compete. They're going to try to do the reverse Tampa. They lost the Stanley Cup 2 years ago. Now they're going to try to go back-to-back. And
good luck stopping them.
Looking at them in the East and going, how are you going to stop them?
Yeah, good luck with that, right? Like,
I don't think anybody's stopping them. I think we just crowned our Stanley Cup champions. As much as I would like to see someone upset them, I don't see it at this point.
No, I don't see it. And look, think about it. Brad Marchand, what he's brought to that third line of Florida. Who thought Luostarinen was going to have a 4-point night in a closing out series game? Like, dude had a 4-point night. I mean, he's a good player. Don't get me wrong, but what he's brought to that team, he's been rejuvenated. I can see him sticking around. Like Bennett's doing his thing in it. Florida is just well coached. Doesn't matter. Just get us to the playoffs, and we'll show you what we can do.
And it's truly amazing. I keep going back to this all the time, Jim, because you get the Rangers that didn't do anything or much. They added Reilly Smith. That's really all they did from last year. Florida a couple years ago said, we've got to change the way we do things. They could have just run it back again, and they traded away the best player possibly ever to lace them up for the Florida Panthers. I mean, to play for them, Jonathan Huberdeau. He was their only 100-point scorer in their career, and they traded him for the guy who would score 100 points and really be their bulldog all the way to their first Stanley Cup final. And then, I mean, Matt Tkachuk has just been a piece so far for them since then. And or at least that's the way I'm seeing it. What'd you think, Phil?
I'm sorry, I was looking into something real quick.
Well, they're a full team.
I mean, he's a beast. He's a beast. Yo, Tkachuk's a beast. I mean, you saw it at Four Nations before he got hurt. He thrives in this environment. They both do. Both brothers are thriving in this environment. And you can see why they love this moment and why they're built for this moment. And look out, because I don't know whether, again, if we get game 7 between Ottawa and Toronto, the city's gonna burn down in Toronto.
Yeah. We'll get into that in a little bit.
But anyway, I don't see either the Toronto Maple Leafs or no matter how well they're playing differently, beating the Florida Panthers. They couldn't beat an undermanned Florida Panther team in the regular season.
Yeah. I'm not going to put as much stock in the regular season. I like what Toronto did going out and getting guys like Scott Lawton and Brandon Carlo to help, in the physicality department. But I think Florida just plays a certain way. They play fast, they play tough, and they play aggressive. And I think that's the problem. Like we've had discussions with Seth Steven about toughness and having toughness with grit and speed and so on, and that there's a difference between having guys that are tough and playing tough as a team. Florida plays tough as a team. And that's why they're as good as they are. Because it's not just Sam Bennett going and sucker punching Brad Marchand or whoever, away from a play. Sam Bennett plays physical and heavy hockey. Matt Tkachuk plays physical and heavy hockey. Alex Barkov can play physical and heavy hockey and shut down guys. I mean, Sam Reinhart can play physical and kills penalties. They all bought in. They've all bought in, basically.
Well, let's just echo one more guy that's bought into that and also plays. He's their finesse guy and still plays a somewhat physical game in Carter Verhaeghe, because you can never shake him off the puck. He's always willing to get his hands dirty, and he's their quick strike guy. So, I mean, it's amazing what the Panthers are doing, and that they're all on the same page. And it sounds funny saying that about a team that played in the last 2 Stanley Cup finals as a defending champion as of right now. Going over to the number 1 team in the East, they also took Game 5 last night. The Washington Capitals beating the Montreal Canadiens 4-1 to win the series 4-1. They advanced to play the Carolina Hurricanes. Jim, what'd you think looking at the Capitals?
I mean, look, this is a different team than I saw the last maybe couple weeks of the regular season, right? They were all about the OV watch and getting them. They turned it on. They found a different gear, right? But this series changed in one moment. Tom Wilson on Alex Carrier in Game 4.
Yep.
That changed it, and they scored 2 goals right after that, and the series was over. Because before that, the Montreal Canadiens were in this series. They were matching him stride for stride. Logan Thompson was being barraged with shots. Jacob Dobesh did a great job filling in for Sam Montembeault of the Canadiens, and the Canadiens were right there. Unfortunately, that Wilson hit, they just never recovered from it. And once they got back for Game 5, Washington said, you know what, we're the better team. We're going to take care of business. And we've seen that now with these 3 series that have ended in the East. The better team has won, and they've really looked good in the closeout game outside of Carolina. But the overtime and the double overtime, Carolina took over against New Jersey. However, the Washington Capitals are just so deep, and they have so many guys that can get it done. And Jacob Chychrun, I'm looking at you, man. This guy, what an acquisition in the offseason. He's brought so much grit and so much scoring from that back end. Alex Ovechkin's having fun in the playoffs. Again, Tom Wilson does what he does. But Dylan Strome, the emergence of Dylan Strome as a number one center in the NHL, the importance of winning faceoffs in the playoffs, sets up the Ovechkin first goal. And again, we didn't know what the status was of Logan Thompson coming in. And here he is. Probably should be up for the Vezina Trophy if he stayed healthy.
I actually still can't believe that he's not. Phil, but going back to this series, and speaking of Tom Wilson, how about that Game 3 moment that went all the way onto the bench?
Yeah, a lot of crazy stuff going on. And that's what I said in when we talked about these in the playoff preview. I said that Montreal I didn't think was going to be able to handle Washington's physicality. And they just weren't able to do it. And one event literally just, what you're talking about was like a microcosm of the series, but what Jim brought up before was basically the series in a nutshell.
Yeah.
It just, you talked about a hit that changed an entire series, and that was it. I don't know if I completely agree with Jim on all the other stuff he said about like Dylan Strome being a true number one. I think that Washington was very high in PDO. And I think going forward, we're going to have to really look at that and see what happens next year with guys like Strome and Alexi Protas and all these other guys that had massive career years. Like when you have that, when a team has career years like that many players having careers, Tom Wilson, another one, career year, going forward, it's something that's going to have to be watched. So I'm not ready to crown them yet in the way that you kind of did there. But oh my God. That's so true.
That's a great one, Sean. Tom Wilson owns Jeff Gorton's team.
That's a top 5 Sean comment of all time right there. Because it's so true. It really is.
But I'll ask you this one, Phil. I'll ask you this.
Okay.
At least the Canadiens, well, maybe not ask you, but more comment. At least the Canadiens showed a little bit more fight than the Rangers did after Tom Wilson buried one of their guys. I mean, who thought 1970s was going to come back in 2025 in Game 3?
Yeah, the Rangers were the Smurfs. Montreal's the Smurfs. Yeah. Listen, I just think that the Capitals were a better team. Yeah. They were just the better team, hands down. I said that going in. The better goaltending, the better defense. Montreal in a few years, if everything pans out with them, they're going to be a scary team. Uri Slafkovsky, to me, was probably the most pleasant surprise for Montreal because he started showing signs of being why he was picked number 1 overall in 2021. He started playing more physical, started using his size. He was kind of a no-show in the first 2 games, and then Game 3, he really started coming on in that series a little bit. Cole Caulfield looks like he could be a great player going forward, but he's going to be a guy, and he's got the coach to do it because the coach knows how to play big despite being small and doing so in like the big moments. So I hope that for Cole Caulfield's sake, he's leaning a lot on Marty St. Louis after this playoff series, like sitting down, talking to him, picking his brain, asking him how to do certain things in certain situations, and playing bigger than his size against these teams that are going to look to target him because of how small he is going forward. So for me, Montreal, they just weren't there yet. And I don't think Washington's going to win their next series. I think Carolina is going to wipe the floor with them. I have trouble seeing Washington deal with Carolina's speed. One thing that Carolina is going to have to do is they're going to have to stop settling for chances from the outside, and they're going to have to start attacking the middle a little more. And that's where Washington can win this series, is because if they can do what the Rangers have done the last 2 times they played Carolina in the playoffs and keep their chances to the outside and protect the middle, then that's really the secret to beating Carolina. Because Carolina loves to settle for high-volume, low-quality shots as opposed to attacking the middle and getting there. So that's really going to be the key in the next round.
Well, speaking of teams that need to get to the next round, you look at the President Trophy Winnipeg Jets, who won last night 5-3 to take a 3-2 lead over the St. Louis Blues. Jim, Connor Hellebuyck so far in this playoffs, .822 save percentage, worst among starting goaltenders. Do you know who's worse than him?
No. Who you got?
Stuart Skinner.
Yeah, Stuart Skinner's not playing right now. It's Calvin Pickard. So, yeah, that's.
So now he is the worst.
Woof, big time woof.
Yeah,
big time.
Buzz, your girlfriend, woof.
Look, I'll tell you this. Winnipeg found a way to get it done without Mark Scheifele. Now we got a little gamesmanship going on, banter back and forth between the coaches, getting the officials involved. The hit to Mark Scheifele on Braden Shen, it was high, it wasn't high. That's not where he got hurt. No, it was the Foxa hit. He's a medical doctor, like all this stuff. It's great back and forth banter. Connor Hellebuyck made saves he needed to make in Game 5 to improve what he had done off of Games 3 and 4, which were abysmal. The issue is, and I'm not a goaltender, but I'm hearing more and more analysts sound like this. Even Kevin Weeks was talking about this. Technique and form and all this stuff can get you only so far. Come playoff time, you got to figure out a way to make a save. And being technically sound opens you up to holes that normally you don't see in the regular season because pucks find a way to go through. Can't be a statue. He studies goaltending. It's all well and good. He may have to be a hybrid goalie moving forward where he just stands in between a little bit before he goes down into that butterfly position. But he made the saves he needed to make. He made the big save when it was 1-1, gave his team life to score goals, gave his team life to score goals in the second period. They found a way to make things happen because Mark Scheifele went down. Kyle Connor stepped up, scored goals again. That's what he does against Jordan Binnington. Mike Sullivan, take notes. Especially when you probably are coaching him at the Olympics. Take notes. The guy scores. So I'm just saying, still don't get that decision. But anyway, I think that was a big win for the Jets to come home because they changed a little bit of the momentum in the series, but now they have to change it back.
Yeah, Jim, that 2-on-1 save that he made with the paddle of the stick, I think that's the one you're referring to. That was incredible.
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about because if that goes in and it's a shorthanded goal he gives up, now the Jets are down and they kind of are deflated and probably St. Louis runs away with this thing. But he makes the save, keeps his team in it. They find a way. They took control in the second period and they pulled away from a very, very good St. Louis Blues team. And now they got to go close it out on the road without Mark Scheifele.
Yeah, and Phil, I don't get it how Hellebuyck has these trouble in the playoffs because he played 4 Nations. That was some pressure. That he performed excellent.
So I was watching, I forget if it was TSN or NHL Network, and I forget who it was talking about him, but I think it might have been a TSN panel. And maybe, was it Overdrive? Was it Hayes and O-Dog and O'Neill? But somebody was talking about how, like, in a regular season, there's a lot of fluff. There's a lot of bad teams that you're going to face. You can prop up your stats and everything like that. And then come playoff time, you're playing the best teams. They have the scouting reports on you. I was watching a TSN, Gino Reda and Marty Biron, former guest of the show, before we came on, before actually I joined you in the studio. And they were talking about how in the playoffs, they have time to scout you. Like when you're in the regular season, let's just say you're going to be in Boston one night. You're going to face the Bruins. And then either the next night or 2 nights later, you're going to be in Toronto facing the Leafs. Like, you don't have a lot of time to get that muscle memory down, watch all of that tape, do real deep dives. Like, your coaching and your scouting staffs are really getting to do the X's and O's and all the video review and all the tapes and pointing out all the flaws of a team and really kind of hammering it home to the players when you're in a playoff series or when you're preparing for one. So it's a bit different. You get a lot more familiar with your opponent this way. So maybe that's it. Maybe that's what it comes down to. Hellebuyck, I've heard people talk about how he has trouble, fighting through screens to see the puck. That's another thing. A lot of guys throw, a lot of traffic in front and a lot of shots through screens on him, and he ends up getting beaten. Maybe that is one of his weaknesses. Maybe that's it. I think another thing that we don't talk about enough is that the defense in front of Connor Hellebuyck on paper is not that good. It's really not. When you look at the names, where are the names there? Josh Morrissey and what else?
I mean, Neil Pionk, but that's about it.
Logan Stanley. Are those does anyone fear any of those guys outside of Morrissey?
No.
Absolutely not. And if you tell me that you fear any of those guys outside of the Morrissey, you're either lying or you're not strong enough to handle any type of defense or any type of forward unit in the playoffs, because those guys are not big time shutdown guys. They're not big time point producers. They're the Dylan DeMello. All right, DeMello's a great bottom pairing guy. Great bottom. I would love to have him on the Rangers as a 5, not a 3, not a 4. Like this is not there. That defense is just not good. It
hasn't been good. It hasn't actually. The names haven't been good for a couple of years now.
And look at it. They gave up 3 goals to St. Louis last night. They had to score 5 to win that game.
Well, in fairness, Phil, one of the goals was after they scored the empty netter, and
sure, but look. All right, so let's take a look at the scores here. Let's really take a look at some of these scores. All right, so they win game 2, 2-1. I'm sorry, I'm trying to pull up game 1 right now. Game 1, they let up 3 goals. Game 2, they let up a goal. Game 3. Let's see where game 3 scored. Game 3 score.
Didn't they give up 5?
They scored 7 goals
7.
on them.
Yeah, 7.
7 goals. That's inexcusable for a team like that. And then you go to game 4, which was I believe on Sunday. The Blues scored 5 goals in 2 games. They let up 12 goals. You can't have that. Yes, those 2 games absolutely skew everything, but to St. Louis with that depth, where is their scoring depth outside of Thomas, Buchnevich, and Kyrou?
And Thomas hasn't really done that much in this series. Jimmy Snuggerud's made a little bit of an impression.
Snuggerud's played well.
Snuggerud has played well, but that's a rookie. If you're letting a rookie come in and do that to you, you're not that great of a team. I'm sorry.
Well, who's got, I believe, 9 points so far in this series, and that's Cam Fowler of all people.
Cam Fowler's been great for the St. Louis Blues since he came over.
I said they should have got him in the Trouba trade.
And the last series to talk about before we switch over to talking about some of the news that happened last week. Carolina Hurricanes eliminated your New Jersey Devils.
Jimmy might want to look away from that one real quick.
5-4 in double overtime. Sebastian Aho with the game winner in OT. Jim, it's your beat. This series seemed like it was going to be one that was going to be lopsided towards Carolina. And then I thought the Devils really tightened up and played a better series. 2, 3. Not so much at game 4, but game 5, yes.
Yeah, I mean, look, they played admirably. They played with a lot of heart, determination, will, a lot of injuries. I had Carolina in 5 before the series even started. So, I mean, maybe I'm just a realist, but I know that this team can't win in Carolina, now 3-15 in 18 playoff games in Carolina. They probably should have, like Markstrom said after the game, probably should have won it. You put 4 up on the road, you're probably going to win that game. That second period, after they went up 3-0, they just sat back. They just let Carolina come out and dictate play. Yeah, it doesn't help you're shorthanded. I thought they started the period really good. Yeah, a couple goals that went in, they probably shouldn't go in. But again, they just let them sit back. You let Carolina control play for most of the series. I mean, they were going to, because they just come in waves. And that's what they do. And they just throw pucks on net everywhere. If it's not for Jacob Markstrom, there's no reason that series even goes to double overtime in Game 5. Some of the saves in the third period, some of the saves in overtime. I mean, outside of Jarvis post in the first overtime, the Devils were under siege. They got outshot 14-3. And I'm being nice when I say 3. I mean, they gave them 3 shots. Did they have 3 shots? I have no idea. Because they weren't even... Because I'm going to be honest, every time they went into Carolina's zone, they just dumped it in, and Carolina was going the other way.
Yep.
It was unfortunate, in 2023, the series ends because Carolina gets a power play. I mean, it was a high stick. I mean, that's not a follow-through. It's unfortunate. That's the way the season ends. Jacob Markstrom did everything. Nico Hischier, all these guys did everything they could. Despite the injuries, despite everything, no Jack Hughes. Look, I'll even say this. I've said this multiple times. I don't care how healthy this team is. They can't beat Carolina in Carolina. Carolina was going to win the series regardless. It just, at some point, when you're giving up 45 shots a game, your defense is wearing down. Your goaltender can't do everything. And if you're not going to help out your goalie, at some point, Carolina is going to just take over the game. And again, Simon Nemec plays well in Game 3. They attacked Carolina in Game 3 in both overtime sessions, and they won the game. But then in Game 4, start off slow, bad lead, goalie change. Then you didn't really get pucks on Kochetkov because you could clearly see you could give up goals.
Yeah.
And then you just kind of mail it in the third period. Now you're facing playoff elimination, and you come out with that start. I mean, they did as good a job as any. I'll agree with Pesci on this. I've never seen a team go through so many injuries and so much adversity in a season. From Hischier to Hughes to the other Hughes to everybody on D. They just faced Hamilton, Siegenthaler, Markstrom at times. They played really well, but unfortunate, it just wasn't enough because Carolina is just a better team right now.
Yeah, and Carolina really just kind of put the screws to them in Game 4 and really took advantage of that. Although, again, all credit to the Devils for putting up quite the fight. 4-4 going into overtime. And, Phil, it is a little bit of irony that the Devils script last year was all about, they need goaltending. They need goaltending. And now with this year, it's almost like they let the goalie down.
It's crazy. Jimmy and I had a little bit of an exchange in DM on Twitter about Jacob Markstrom and being the guy. And, I mean, I didn't think he had the greatest regular season, which is where he and I were disagreeing. But, I mean, he definitely stepped it up come playoff time because he was the only reason they were even in that series. If not for him and his play, that's a 4-0 blowout, and none of the games are close. None of the games are close. I don't know what else I can really say that Jimmy didn't say already about this series because he pretty much hit it on the head of the nail. Carolina basically controlled the play from start to finish, and the Devils got their chances. Really, the issue with Carolina, like I said, is it's the ability to basically stop that or keep them to the outside, and the Devils weren't able to keep them to the outside. Will Washington have more success with that? Who knows? But, I mean, really that's what it comes down to, is because Carolina, as we know, they love to go low to high and get those point shots and get the rebounds and get the second chances off of those shots. New Jersey, there was a lot of one and dones. There were no second chance opportunities for New Jersey in that series at all. And the fact that they got the goals that they did with the lack of second chance opportunities is actually kind of a testament to their forwards and their ability to score. So I'll give them that. They played well. It's just too much. They were too much. And I don't think, no offense to Jack Hughes, I don't think Jack Hughes changes that. I don't think any amount of injuries. I just think that Carolina's just a better team. And they're built more to succeed a little in the playoffs than New Jersey. I know we're going to talk about like where we go from here, with you after this, but there's definitely, I think, a change of philosophy that might be needed for the Devils to take that next step. So, Mark, I don't.
No, I agree. I agree with you, and I think the one last thing I'll say is, look at the special teams goals. Carolina had 6 power play goals and a shorthanded goal. The Devils had 0, and they had multiple chances in Game 5 to score on the power play, and in the other games as well, and didn't do it. And that's the difference.
Yes.
And they didn't have one. No, because the one in Game 5 expired. So the time expired on the power play. Somebody's like, oh, they did have a power play goal. I'm like, no, they didn't. The time expired, and they didn't have a power play goal. I mean, the guy was coming out of the box, so technically they were still playing shorthanded. But the time had expired on the power play. This was an issue coming into the series when I did the preview. How could the Devils manufacture 2 to 3 goals a game and win? They had to get power play goal, shorthand, something. They just couldn't do it. And that was the issue. They didn't have anybody outside of Hischier and Bratt and Meyer, and even Bratt at times. Look, I mean, he kind of disappeared a little bit in this series too, as much as he took a next step. Offensively, he really didn't take over. But again, that's what Carolina does. They take away your best players, and they make your depth beat you. And the Devils just don't have that right now.
Yeah, and I'll say one quick thing before I pass it over to you, Mark. One philosophy you got to have in the playoffs is that special teams win. And it's funny, Mark brought up a stat before, when we did the playoff previews, is that New Jersey's power play was clicking after the Hughes injury at a 32.5% rating without their best player. And I thought that could maybe give them a little bit. Even though I picked Carolina in 5, I thought maybe that would be the way that they get another win or 2 out of that series. And like you said, 0. That's shocking.
Yeah, because that's exactly what I was about to say, Phil. It's shocking that they were able to click at the number 1 rate in the NHL when Jack Hughes went down. And you're talking about one of the best offensive players in the league, and then they couldn't get anything going on specialty teams. We're going to talk more about the performance of Jacob Markstrom in these playoffs and how Carolina.
Real quick, so I saw the too soft comment. I made a comment on one of my shows, and I know a lot of people have thrown things out of proportion a little bit. In passing, I did mention that the Devils have a Canadiens problem when it comes to their forward group. They are a little small.
Well, I mean, it's funny we were talking about, Tom Wilson owning Jeff Gorton teams. Jeff Gorton builds his teams sort of like the same way. Heavy Euro, a lot of skill, and lacking grit. And that's why a lot of these teams that are built like that, they're built to win in the regular season, not in the playoffs. Look at Florida.
Yeah. And again, look at Florida. Look at them 3 years ago, as opposed to say now. But
that Kachuk trade, man, culture changer.
And Paul Maurice, and them saying they need to get bigger and heavier. They're all over the place with a lot of those.
It's so funny how, I'll say one quick, that just because we're on it, but to go from Joel Quenneville to Paul Maurice and then to win a Stanley Cup, talk about fortune, man.
Yeah. And they had to take a look in the mirror.
Yeah.
One team that didn't do that, going back to them again, the New York Rangers. They made headlines last Wednesday when they extended Chris Drury. And you saw the whole bit at the beginning, the cold open, based off the Simpsons steamed hams. Philk, was Drury worthy of an extension?
Let him cook, baby. Let him cook.
Oh man. I'm gonna say
popcorn.
Yeah, the Michael Jackson popcorn gift, or Jim, an even better one, the Big E one, the New Day.
Yeah.
Oh God! No, yeah. Pipe bomb incoming. CM Filk. Oh, I mean, for me, it's tough. It really is tough because I just don't think he handled everything well. I think a large portion of what happened is his fault for the way that he handled everything. I think the way that he handles the players is not good. I think if I listen, I've been in supervisory and managerial positions in my personal career, and if I handled somebody like that, I probably wouldn't have a job. So yeah, that's not good. It's not good. With that said, he does do one thing particularly well, and that's identify things. The problem is that once he identifies them, he just does not follow up on that well. I get getting rid of Trouba. Trouba kind of derailed their offseason. And, they weren't able to make moves that they wanted to make in the offseason. But Drury got an extension, John. Drury got an extension. So,
yeah.
But
multi-year deal.
Yeah, multi-year deal. So he's going to be here for a bit. But I get why they did this. And this is Dolan turning around to the players and saying, if you do not like the way things are going, then don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out. I mean, that's his message. Mika Zibanejad, who are you to be talking about what the general manager is doing? You should be worrying about showing up in the playoffs in the deeper rounds. You can have all the success you want in round 1 and round 2, but round 3 is where you disappear, buddy. Same for you, Artemi Panarin. Why is Alexis Lafreniere, a 22-year-old at the time, why was he the best player in that Florida series? Why? When you have Mika Zibanejad, when you have Artemi Panarin, when you have Chris Kreider, when you have Vincent Trocheck, why was he the best player? Why was he the best forward? I mean, it's not good enough. It's not good enough. But Drury, I don't know about this. I don't know about this.
Yeah, we'll see about that one.
Look, I have people I've talked to that contradict that statement right there.
Yeah, I don't know about.
I talked about drafting and developing. I think that's one thing the New York Rangers have taken their eye off the ball with, and that's something the Montreal Canadiens can't do. You cannot. It doesn't matter the players that you bring in and the players you trade for. And oh, by the way, every player that Chris Drury traded this year, the players that have come back have been lesser in talent than the players that were shipped out. Oh, want to be big and physical and this and that. Bro, you didn't even get to the playoffs. And you were trying to build a playoff team that wasn't even there. Now, granted, the players have to take some of the responsibility of the sabotage on this year themselves because they didn't like what was going on in the room. And, look, I'll say it, the quote-unquote mutiny that happened against Chris Drury because, the way Jacob Trouba was handled and Barclay Goodrow and all that. You have to take responsibility for sabotaging your own season in December and losing and not playing hard. And you still had a chance to make the playoffs if you did because you were 12-5-1, and nobody thought they were a 12-5-1 team. However, you were still in wild card 1 and had the chance to, make the playoffs. And again, this is my philosophy. If you really wanted to change something, you do it in the offseason. But if you can't do it and you start the season, don't try to. Just wait till the season plays out and do it at the end of the year. Because that's when things really can get done. Then you're screwing around with philosophies and players and this and that. Yeah. And then you get into this whole cycle. And I'm sorry, Carson Soucy, very slow player. Devils tore him apart. A lot of guys tore him apart. Just the players that came back, just not good enough. Giving up on draft picks, giving up on prospects that had the potential. And I always go back to this. You got to hire the right coach, and you got to get the right guy that wants to play these kids. Because I'll go back to it. We can be in disagreement. We can be in agreement. I think that the Rangers had a solid second line if they decided to keep all the kids together. But they chose not to, and here we are.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing for me is the fact that they quit in December. And normally, like, if they didn't quit in December, I could take a look at this team and be like, hey, you know what? A lot of this is now Chris Drury's fault. But Chris Drury identified a group of quitters, basically.
Yeah.
Mika Zibanejad and Chris Kreider. I mean, they both have to go. And I know that a lot of people are going to say, oh, well, Mika Zibanejad, and you're probably not going to be able to move him. I think what this extension did is basically said to Mika Zibanejad, you think that you have some sort of say about what goes on behind the scenes, or that you're going to organize some sort of revolution and mutiny against this front office? Not happening, buddy. Pack your bags if you don't like it now. And I think that opens up the door for him to being much more amenable to waiving his protection. And yeah, and Johnny, and I wasn't saying that Drury is not, he's 100% at fault. I don't think Drury's 100% at fault. I think there's a ton of blame to go around with what happened.
Goes both ways.
Oh yeah,
goes both ways.
And I like your comment you said before, Mark, before you just jump in, John. The fact that when I saw Mika Zibanejad say about communication up and down the organization, players don't need to know what management is doing.
Yep.
Yeah. That's not his job.
That's not his role on the team. The coach, if the coach needs to know what management is thinking, absolutely, so he can address the philosophy on how the team needs to play. But you can't tell a team or tell players, this is what we're thinking, this and that. No, don't worry about it. Like, oh, your friend's gonna be gone again. Oh well, that's part of the business.
Yep.
This is hockey, right? Like, this is a business.
Yeah.
You're an employee. You can get traded. You can get moved. Like, that's what happens. And as Zibanejad also with the contract. Well, I have no move clause, no protection. Like, I don't know if I'm going anywhere. Yeah, Roberto Luongo said the same thing. My contract sucks. Look where he ended up in Florida.
Yeah.
It can happen.
Yeah. I mean,
And
that's the thing.
Let's go further into that with who the guy that he was traded for was Todd Bertuzzi, who was deemed radioactive, and they got Roberto Luongo in his prime for him.
Mark, I don't think Jim's talking about that. I think he's talking about the later on.
I know. I know what he means. He means the second deal.
That one went from Vancouver to Florida. So after they moved Schneider to New Jersey, then they moved Luongo a year and a half later, or less than a year later.
Yeah, right. And all I'm saying is, if you can move somebody, you can move somebody. JT Miller looked to be unmovable. They moved him. There's plenty of guys. Pierre-Luc Dubois was one of my favorites. Ryan McDonagh
got traded after they went to the final.
Yeah. Ryan McDonagh. Not only that, but Ryan McDonagh. The thing is, they threatened waivers with him. The same thing that they did with Gaudreau, and then it actually ended up happening with Gaudreau because he refused. But that's the thing. You cannot, and I mean cannot, let the inmates run the asylum. And that was what was being attempted here. And I mean,
that's what happened with Jacob Trouba.
Yeah, and that's Jacob Trouba decided to subterfuge his lack of trade protection, and that's why last 2024 summer that offseason was tanked because of that. So I mean, listen, you could talk about whether or not Chris Drury deserves to be here, and I think that can go both ways. That's basically my point. Long-winded answer, but that is my point. That can go both ways. But what I will say right now is that group, they deserve to have what is happening right now happen to them. Because what they did was bullshit. They quit on not only themselves, but they quit on the fans. They quit on the organization. They quit on Sam Rosen, who was supposed to be his send-off. You were supposed to give him another chance to call another playoff game. And you quit. And you quit because you weren't getting your way. And you quit because you were called out and were forced to have and take some sort of accountability. I mean, no, but you know what? That is the media. The media is supposed to do things like that and hold players to the fire, hold management to the fire when they aren't doing their jobs. And the players weren't doing their jobs. The players were not doing what they were supposed to be doing. You can't quit like that.
To just extend your thought, and we were talking about this during the Rangers wrap-up show. I mean, the worst showing I've ever seen by a professional hockey team, ever, maybe, was that game before Christmas versus the New Jersey Devils.
Just laid an egg, straight egg.
That was bad.
Everyone on that roster, on that ice, looked checked out.
Gone.
Everyone.
Like Gonzo.
And that's December. That's right before Christmas. You're resigning to quit that early? That's when I was saying they should have just tanked. And they refused to tank. And then you basically you derailed your season because you want to quit. But then you're 2, 3 weeks, 4 weeks later, we're going to decide that we want to play again. What changed? That's what I want to know. What changed?
Will Borgen.
I mean, he's a good player, but he's not. I mean, he's not that. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, he's a good player, but
10 games of hockey. Oh, so dumb. And that's part of why I look at Drury and I'm just like, okay, you know what? Maybe this is not the guy. Okay, we're going to trade our captain. We're going to identify that this core is not good enough to win, but we're going to give the goaltender $11.5 million. Like, where is the thought process here?
Again, you're looking in that locker room. All of us are staring in there. What's going on? Aurora Borealis, and that's what he said to us.
And this comment is actually this. I'm trying to find it.
Jim, go ahead. What were you trying to say?
I said, deserve it? Maybe. Did he earn it is the real question. Because in my book, he should have played out his deal. And I know they don't like to do these lame duck GMs because there's always going to be questions about it. But the way the Rangers answer media questions about that stuff, he could be in Fort Knox. You're not going to get an answer. So it wouldn't have mattered. I think he probably should have just played it out one more year and see what happened instead of giving an extension. Because I don't know if he earned that extension, but I understand Phil's point because now it sets the tone for the room. It's like, okay, you don't like this guy. Well, too bad. He's here. You want to leave? Great. We'll figure out a way to do it. We want guys that want to be here.
Which could be a necessary thing, by the way.
Right, exactly. I'm not saying it's not.
I mean, if to answer this question, if it was up to me, Igor Shesterkin would have never gotten that contract.
Me too.
I would have played that out. If somebody was going to give him $13 million or whatever the hell it was, let them give him $13 million. Let somebody overpay him drastically for a stupid deal.
Edmonton would have done it.
Yeah, who?
Edmonton would have done it.
If Edmonton was going to give him $13 million, they would.
No, I'm just saying they would have paid him a lot of money, though.
I don't know. I don't know if they would have had the money.
No, that's true.
How are you going to have the money to keep McDavid then?
That's a fair point. Fair point. I'm just saying some stupid team would have done it, though. That needs a goaltender.
I really don't think anyone would have paid him 13. I don't think anyone would have paid him 11.5. I have trouble seeing. All right, if you would have told me that he could get 10 to 10.5 on the market, okay, maybe I could see that. But I think we're at a point where you look at Sergei Bobrovsky's contract, and that was an albatross before last season.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I know 2 seasons ago.
Carey Price's contract became an albatross because he couldn't play regularly, and you were paying your goaltender to be your best guy. You don't win. The last team to win when the goaltender was the de facto best player. Do you guys remember who that team was? Can you guys think of who that team was? Because I have it right in my head right now.
I mean, I kind of have. I might be. Maybe we're on a different page, but knowing the finances, I know of the team I follow.
I'm not even talking about the finances. I'm not talking about salaries or anything. I'm just saying the last team to win a Stanley Cup where their de facto undisputed best player was their goaltender.
93 Canadiens.
Bingo.
I was going to say one of the Devils teams because Marty got paid later on in his career. In 2003, his new extension kicked in at around like $8 million. So, but I agree. Patrick Waugh on the Canadiens or Colorado Avalanche, where there was the de facto best player.
I would say Waugh 93, like for sure.
Oh, 100% Waugh 93.
And let's not forget, because I'm
Why in 86? Let's be
we're
honest.
going to talk.
Rookie.
Yeah, I mean, and we're going to talk more about like guys like Claude Lemieux that were a great playoff player, especially '95 when he won the Conn Smythe for the Devils.
Yes.
But we're already in the longest A block we've ever had, guys.
Sorry,
But we still got 2 more topics to go with the A block.
Yeah,
because,
I mean, I'll say one last thing, and then we'll go from here.
Let's go.
But I mean, listen, this team is going to have to go through massive changes. And who else needs to go? Mika Zibanejad and Chris Kreider definitely both need to go. Like it needs to be both of them. We'll see what happens. But to move on from there.
I also, by the way, just to throw this name in, sorry, Artemi Panarin's one of them.
I don't think they will, but I would explore it.
Chris Drury
detests
like
a first round
Artemi
pick,
Panarin.
a very good prospect for him. I would do it.
And he's the one that's got the most amount of cachet, if you will, and value. But the other thing is, obviously, the other headlines that were coming out. Let's move on to the big headline that's on right now that was in our thumbnail. We're only getting into it about an hour into the show. That the Pittsburgh Penguins parted way with former Rangers assistant, their head coach, who won 2 Stanley Cups, Mike Sullivan, who's also the coach of Team USA in the Four Nations face-off. And everybody's got this pin, guys, to Sullivan coming to New York. Jim, I'm actually going to go to you on this one first. Is he coming here, or you think he's going elsewhere?
I think there's 2 destinations that he can go, and it's New York and Boston. I think he wants to win now, and he still wants to win. The issue is the Rangers are the closest team that probably can get him what he wants. I don't see Philadelphia as an option. I don't think they're close. Boston, I mean, you got to get the right pieces, but the problem is their GM going to even be there? The way Cam Neely was talking, he's not sure he gave a vote of confidence to Don Sweeney. Anaheim, he's not going out. According to Jim Rutherford, he's not going out west. So, that takes Anaheim, Vancouver out of the mix. Chicago's out of the mix. Unless somebody makes a real drastic coaching change after the first round of the playoffs, the landing spot's New York, unless he doesn't want to coach for 2 years and get paid and pull a Mike Babcock, which I don't think he wants to do. I will say this. Might be a little bit of a hot take, might be a little bit of an opinion that some people may disagree with. I think Mike Sullivan's prime years are past him. I think he peaked already. I think the back-to-back cups, how he handled the defense for Pittsburgh and that defensive philosophy was good at that time. But the Penguins didn't win a playoff series since 2018, lost in the first round, didn't qualify a couple of times. And when they missed the playoffs in 2023 because of Florida going on that run, they blew a lot of third-period leads. And some of the coaching decisions he's made makes me wonder, is he the right guy, and is he going to fit in with player personnel too? Because he's the one that wanted to keep Tristan Jarry in Pittsburgh.
I agree with you on that. And where exactly does he fit with? When you think about him, his first run with Boston really wasn't that great. He goes to the Penguins after being an assistant with the Rangers, and he gets the Penguins at the right time. The Penguins needed a philosophical change. And he wrangled in their best players and incorporated guys like Jake Gensel in there and really kind of got that influx of new players that's there. I don't think the Rangers and Bruins are ready for him to be the head coach. Not right now. The Rangers have to change a lot of things. I hate breaking this news to everybody. And somebody on Twitter decided to have some words with me about it, but this team is not a Mike Keenan away from winning the Stanley Cup.
No.
There's a lot of things that need to be done.
No.
And so first off, adding Mike Sullivan doesn't matter. And the second thing that's also there to bring up, as we're going to go gaga over the coaching search, we're going to talk more about this in the Bar Talk, guys. But only one head coach has won a Stanley Cup with 2 different teams. I always bragged about Peter Laviolette bringing 3 teams to a Stanley Cup final. He was 6 wins away from a 4th. That's great. Only one coach has done it, and that's Scotty Bowman.
He's
won it with 3 different teams.
Yeah.
3 different teams
Montreal,
at that. Yes.
Pittsburgh,
Pittsburgh,
and Detroit.
And he took the Blues to the final.
Yeah. Do you remember who the captain of that team was?
Final the first 3 years in a row of their existence.
But the captain of that team was Al
there's
Harbour.
a caveat is that the expansion 6 were their own conference, and the original 6 were their own conference. So there's a caveat there.
Yeah, but
however,
still,
he did it 3 years in a row with them.
Yeah, but he still took 4 different teams to the final, winning 3 Stanley Cups with 3 different teams. So, I mean, he's done. Scotty Bowman, there's a reason Scotty Bowman is a Hall of Fame coach and an analyst, and guys want to talk to Scotty Bowman all the time and pick his brain because guy's just a legend of the sport.
Oh, absolutely. He's arguably the greatest hockey mind we've ever seen.
Easily.
I mean, he's the reason why we had a neutral zone trap, because they took his left wing lock, Jacques Lemaire, who played under him in Montreal, took his left wing lock and turned it into neutral zone trap. And that basically changed around the 90s into the early 2000s. So, but to this comment here, I don't think we're going to have this same group. I mean, the JT Miller, and as I said it, and I'll say it again, the JT Miller trade was the first in a line of what we were calling culture-changing moves. They were obviously making moves to try to change the makeup and the way this team plays. So that's why I think that, listen, whether you like Sullivan or not, what they're gearing towards is playing Mike Sullivan type hockey. So that's not going to be the issue here. The issue is timeline. Does he fit this timeline? And you could say right now, no. But that also depends on how aggressive this team gets this offseason in reshaping the roster and the moves that they're able to make. Are they going to go in a different direction and go younger? Are they going to go veteran again and try to bring in more veteran players? You know, I don't know. I mean, it depends on who's available, what the cost is, and what moves they think they can make. But I will say this. Jeff Halpern intrigues me. I don't know. I'm not really as high on Jay Leach as I am on as others are, but Jeff Halpern very much intrigues me. To bring in a guy from a winning organization that has been exposed to winning, knows what it takes, knows how to develop players on top of that and win. I mean, that's kind of what this organization needs here, because their development has sucked at every level.
I mean, they had that guys in Edmonton.
Yeah.
You know what? You can make an argument for him. You can also make arguments against him. Is he a byproduct of McDavid? I mean, he's come in and they've been better, but
he fixed that team defensively. That's one thing.
I don't know about that. I mean,
there are times where Edmonton's able to clamp the hammer down, but there was no way the Rangers could go with a rookie head coach last year.
No.
They couldn't do that. And
however, they could have gone with a rookie head coach in 21-22 and then went with Gerard Gallant.
Yeah.
So, how about that idea?
Yeah,
Maybe we were talking about the New York Rangers being in the Stanley Cup Finals.
They wanted Sullivan back then. And the reason why they went with Gallant, who might have been Drury's 3rd or 4th pick, was because he was the one that was available. Sullivan wasn't available. They weren't going to get somebody like Cooper or Quenneville or anybody like that. And, now they ended up with Gallant. Sullivan is the guy that has been their first choice for years. And that's why I think it's going to be Sullivan. Is it the right pick? I don't know. But it's been documented that they wanted him for a while.
Better get it right, because you can't keep going through this cycle of being good, being bad, firing a coach every 2 years. That doesn't work.
No.
After all, that's what the Dark Ages were in the early 2000s, where it was literally Ron Lowe, Brian Trottier, even Glenn Sather behind the bench.
We went from Campbell to Muckler to Lowe to Trottier to Sather to Rennie in the span of 7 seasons. That's 6 coaches.
And even you could count Rennie even at the end of the lockout, the season before the lockout. I mean,
yeah.
So it didn't get it didn't get off to. I mean, you got to have culture, and it starts with the GM. By the way, guys, some of the news that happened this week: Matt Petgrave will not face charges for the death of Adam Johnson. This was the incident in England where he kicked his skate up and it ended up in a fatality. Jim, let me get your thoughts on this one first. Go to Phil, and I'm going to go off when I hear this.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, I don't know what people were expecting. I mean, I know some people were thinking that this was like on purpose. I've watched it so many times, like that. It's so hard to watch, and it didn't look like it was on purpose to me. Like it was like one of those unfortunate incidents that happen when you're playing hockey and the skate blade comes up and you get cut. It's just unfortunate somebody died. Adam Johnson passed away. Feels like it happened like yesterday, but it's like over a year now that's happened, and it's still crazy. But I mean, am I surprised? No charges? No. I mean, but it's it's one of those things. It's hard to prove that you intentionally tried to bring your skate blade up and kick somebody in the neck. Like I don't know. That's just my opinion on it.
Phil?
Pretty much the same thing. I think it was reckless and careless on Petgrave's part. He also has a history of being dirty. I don't think he tried to kill him, but I definitely think he was definitely purposely being reckless and careless with his skates. I don't think it would warrant criminal charges by any means, so I'm not surprised by this.
I am a little surprised by this. I think it's because maybe people were trying to argue about it being much more serious, that it was like murder. No, it's not murder.
No.
Let's get that. He was reckless. He recklessly threw his skates up there. You got a player, and you look at the video, his leg motion is not natural. It's not a natural leg motion anyway. I've been watching hockey for 40 years. I've never seen somebody do this. It looked like he got beat and he was covering somebody and he was just trying to disrupt the play. But as soon as you start bringing your leg up, not everybody's me. I tend to have pretty dull skates. Even at that would still be a problem. Professional skates are like razors, like sharpened axes. It's just, who the hell has ever done this? Who the hell ever thought this was okay? I mean, and look, I don't even care about how many penalty minutes he got. One idiot could do this at any point. So is he dirty? Sure. Just because you're dirty doesn't mean you do this. Even enforcers have codes. Like this. It's just, I actually would have thought about criminal charges in this situation. This matters much more than probably one of the worst things that happened on the ice ever since the Todd Bertuzzi incident. And you never want another Bill Masterson, who unfortunately died because of injuries he sustained. But Masterton, sorry. It's a black eye for hockey. You have to, and again, I guess him not getting criminal charges puts it all away. Am I overreacting on this, guys?
No, you're not. No. You're not, actually.
I would say a little bit. I don't think criminal charges were really warranted. I do agree that it's probably the most unnatural motion I've ever seen. And that was the first thing I said when I saw the video. I was like, who kicks their leg up like that when being hit the way that he was hit? He wasn't even hit that hard. That's why I said I definitely think that he intended to kick him in some sort of way with that follow through, because I'm sorry. I've been playing hockey for 30-something years, and I've never seen anyone kick their leg up like that when being hit in that way. So I don't think there was intent to do anything more than maybe just be a bit of a pest and just like piss somebody off by having his leg hit him or something. But I don't think it was definitely not anything trying to kill him. That's really, David's here, right? You have to prove intent. Are you really going to be able to prove intent to kill somebody by that?
Yeah.
No, that's ridiculous.
Definitely reckless for sure.
Stop. Reckless and stupid.
Reckless endangerment is part of that.
Yeah.
That's why you have different charges for that.
A little bit here, Mark.
All right. I mean, that's why, I think about it, and it's at first I looked at it and said, it's this. It was a natural moment of the play. Skates come up. Then I'm looking at it going, no, he kicks directly at him. It's just, you can't have this happen again. That's one of the things I would tell you.
Joe, I get what you're saying, but I think there's different levels to recklessness. I think that's a complete fluke. Like,
all right.
I think we're on different levels here, man.
Well, let's get on to talking more about the NHL playoffs, more about the Rangers and Islanders transitions, and let's do some NHL Bar Talk. Hockey fans light the lamp this winter with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. New customers can bet just $5 pregame money line on any NHL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. If that wasn't enough excitement, you can turn small bets into bigger payouts with same-game parlays. Combine multiple bets like which team will win, how many goals will be scored, and more for your shot and an even bigger payout. Download the DraftKings Sports app now. Use promo code THPN. Bet $5 on any NHL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. Only at the DraftKings Sportsbook with code THPN.
Shot. This is the easiest I've ever to answer.
I'm going to say beer. I can't even begin to describe.
I'm actually going to go crazy. I'm going to buy everybody around on this one. And welcome back, everybody, to Big Apple Hockey's Bar Talk. We're gauging our confidence on these NHL topics based on your choice of drink. You're so confident that you're buying around for everybody? I'll have a beer. Or, oh, God, I need a shot. Play along down in the comments below, everyone. And let's start going right back with the New York Rangers. Once again, check out our New York Rangers wrap-up show for the season, featuring an interview with Johnny Lazarus, as well as Statboy Steven, Rangers Central guesting, and Ice Cold Takes that was there as well. 2 weeks ago, the Rangers fired Peter Laviolette. Phil, the Rangers should take their time looking for a coach.
Beer. Let's just put it this way. There's two lines of thought here, two philosophies, schools of thought, whatever you want to call it. First is that they should do their due diligence and really try to find fit and prioritize a fit over experience or resume or anything like that, or name, whatever the case may be. The second line of thought to kind of converse that would be that if they identified a guy that they wanted, and whether it's Sullivan or somebody else that's available, it's kind of like the market bell rang when Sullivan became available, if that's their guy. You go after that guy and you get him and you do whatever you can. It's like in a draft. If you identify a guy that's available in a draft and you don't think he's going to be available to you when you're picking, you make a move to trade up and get him, especially if he's at the top of your board. So I think this could go both ways. It's imperative that they get this right, though. It's absolutely paramount that they get this right, because they can, like Jim said before, you cannot fire another coach in 2 years. You can't. So you got to get this one right. You got to make sure that this is a guy that's going to be here for a bit, a guy that could get the most out of the team, and a guy that could, get them closer to where they were last year sooner than later, because you're running on Igor Shesterkin's schedule now. You gave him that deal. You are now running on his schedule. He turns 30 in December of this year. So if it takes you 2 to 3 years to get back to where you were last year, you've given yourself a 2 to 3 year window to win. And then you're going to have a 2 to 3 year window where you have a declining goaltender with an unmovable contract, kind of like the way Henrik Lundqvist was 5 years ago. So, yeah, you gotta make sure you get this one right.
Well, just by the way, to extend the thought before I just get down to Jim on this, and then I'll say mine after Jim. Henrik Lundqvist, part of the problem was he was starting to decline, and there weren't many teams that were willing to give up number one assets and pay $8.5 million to get a goaltender. Just wasn't going to happen. Jim, so the Rangers take their time searching for a coach.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go with Beer here because you have to do your due diligence, but you also have to get your coach in before the draft because you have rookie camps coming. You have to get your players involved. You got to understand the philosophies that they want going into next season. Last year New Jersey took their time. They waited till the first round was over to see if some candidates opened up. Obviously, Sheldon Keefe did. Everybody expected by the end of this week that Mike Sullivan would be named the coach of the New York Rangers. It may not be the end of this week. Maybe they wait because they have to go through a thorough coaching search to find the right fit for the team, and that's what they need to do. Don't rush into it because if you rush into it, you're going to make a mistake, and then you're going to be in this process 2 years from now.
And, sorry, you said Beer on that one, right?
Yeah.
Sorry. I got to go round on this one, guys. I know everybody's expecting Mike Sullivan to be named the head coach Friday. Elliot Friedman said it, and some other guys have said it. No, it can't be. If Mike Sullivan was in this situation 2 off seasons ago, no brainer. Because that's when the Rangers still had a chance. They still had a Stanley Cup window. That window is now shut at the moment. They can reopen it possibly. I don't think it's going to happen with the Rangers and this current crop of coaches and the current crop of players that they got. They got to change around so many things. What is organizational philosophy right now?
Yeah.
Are they trying to develop some of these young kids? Are they trying to do more? I mean, who can get something out of Alexei Lafreniere? That the team, what organization drafts 1 and 2 and makes these guys into role players? It doesn't make any sense. And you can say whatever the result is, but it's still, you can't help but look at these guys and go, like, what are they doing with these players? And now you have the veterans who are malcontents. You got a couple veterans that are go-betweens. You have one who's a major stickler. I mean, and then you got one who, honestly, if as long as he's putting up his numbers, I don't think he cares about anything else. So I would just like to see, can somebody please, maybe they need a coach that's going to take control of that room. And one of the worst comments that was probably bestowed upon this team was John Cooper saying, "Oh, in a couple of years, Gerard Gallant will be sitting in this chair." That puts some unrealistic expectations out there. And the other philosophy then to go on, or the other tidbit to say on that is, there's a small possibility it could be John Cooper. I don't think he's going anywhere. I think you're an idiot.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I mean, it's funny you mentioned a lot of that and identity. Messier was right when he said that they needed to establish an identity and a philosophy. When he had those bullet points down right after the season ended and that loss. But the other thing is that I got to give credit to Sullivan. Over the last 4 or 5 years or so, Rutherford and Dubas have not given him any help whatsoever in terms of actually properly constructing a team. And he's actually done pretty well despite that. I know they've missed the playoffs, the last couple of years or so, but they have not had a good team. And yes, you could say, oh, well, Sidney Crosby. Yeah, Sidney Crosby helps, but Evgeny Malkin is clearly on the decline right now. He's not the same player. He's shelved himself.
Chris Letang's not the same player.
Chris Letang's not the same player. Tristan Jarry should have never been re-signed. I don't know how true that is about Sullivan wanting them back.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate, to be honest.
I haven't heard anything about that, so I can't. I can't say anything. I do know that there was a schism in the management between the sides who wanted him and the sides who didn't want him. Now, I don't know who was on what side, so I can't say that without knowing more. But the fact that Sullivan did what he did with this team I would say it's a testament to how good of a coach he is, because you could sit there and say, oh, well, you know what? They had the two best teams in 2017 and 18 that they had since the early 90s. And that would be correct. Those 2016, especially that 2016 team, your third line was friggin' Hagelin, Bonino, and Kessel.
And they didn't have
line.
And they didn't have Letang on D.
No, and they still won without Letang in 2016. That just goes to show they got so much out of Justin Schultz in that run when they got him for that, which was crazy. So, yeah, you know what? Honestly, I think they do need to take their time. Whether or not Sullivan's the guy, we'll find out. But I don't know. Do your due diligence, please.
I do have to say this before we move on to the next topic. One guy that does not interest me in any way is Rick Tocchet.
No.
Just no. And
yeah, I would be very, very meh about him if they brought him on. But I do agree with John Radigan here. You got to get rid of the developmental staff. And I've been saying this for a while about Ortmeyer and Glass. And it's not just because they were plugs at the NHL level. It's because they've been here forever, and this team has a terrible track record with drafting and developing players.
Yeah.
And those two are part of it.
And really, it's been 10 years since they really did good development. You look around at some of the guys that were here and are playing better elsewhere, like Buchnevich and Brady Shea, for instance, that went on. So let's move on from there. Let's go over to the Islanders across the river. The Islanders they moved on from both Brock Nelson, longtime Islander, and Lou Lamoriello, the voice and GM of their team in their most successful period since the dynasty era. But Jim, the Islanders, they should start rebuilding / retooling this offseason.
Round? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. This should have been started 2 seasons ago, to be honest. But Lou was stuck in his ways because, I'll just get in and see what happens and rely on veterans and not get younger and get goal scoring. Yeah, they started it at the deadline. A great return for Brock Nelson, but they didn't do anything else. Like, you had Kyle Palmieri was available, Jean-Gabriel Pageau would have gotten you stuff. Didn't do it. You gotta keep the momentum going, getting younger. And they need to retool it this offseason. Follow the Washington Capitol, philosophy of retooling, right? They actually started at the deadline, and then it continued into their off seasons, right? That's what they have to do. No extension for Kyle Palmieri, let him go. You don't need to bring him back. Boquist, fine. If you want to keep him, that's fine. All the older guys on your team, you have to figure out a way to move on because it's a young team. Whoever the general manager is, that has to be the philosophy, whether they have a president of hockey ops or a GM is a, two-pronged philosophy, whatever the case may be. But they have to get younger, and they have to change a little bit of their philosophy on how they do some things there. And the biggest priority is getting goal scoring. So, yeah, round for me.
Phil?
Hoop.
There it is.
The hoop. Got the hope. I've been saying this for a while. I don't think Lou Lamoriello was old enough or smart enough to be able to see the real problem with this team. You had those back-to-back conference finals runs, and then it just fell out. The season
shortened seasons, by the way.
Yeah, short. Yes, and yeah, fair, totally fair.
Because it was an older team. That's all I'm just saying.
Yeah, I agree with you. The thing is that after that 21-22 season, that first year in UBS, they should have realized we don't have the pieces anymore. You got rid of your best defenseman in Devon Taves, who I thought was just great. Oh, there it is. You actually brought it out for once. I love it.
I got it out.
We're here. Oh, my God. But you know what? I think that now with a new GM, it's the time to do it. Like, start over. Like, you went and you got Cal Ritchie for Brock Nelson. That's a heist for me. Absolute heist. Because Brock Nelson, while a good player, he's still just a supporting player. And you gave up a top prospect for a supporting player, a second-line center, who's not even like the top end of second-line centers. And good player, but I just don't think that he was a massive, massive difference maker. But I'll just say this. If you don't start now, when are you starting this? Because your older guys are going to start to lose value. Can you get something for Adam Pelech or Ryan Pulock now? If you can, do it. If you can get anything for John Gabriel Pajot and not have to give up like a second rounder or a third rounder with that to get rid of him and his cap hit, do it. Casey Cizikas, another one. You could probably get pieces for it. Do it. And then go sign a bunch of guys in free agency, like some bargain basement guys to fill those bottom six roles. And don't overpay bottom six players like you have for the last 10 years.
Yeah, and let's just make this a hat trick, guys. And I'm also going to say it's a round, obviously, because they need to do what the Rangers should have done. First off, I'm not a big fan of Chris Drury right now. If they would have moved on from him, that would have been totally fine. Have an organizational philosophy. Have somebody, because that's what Lou did. Lou came in and said, this is what we're doing. And then he hired a coach who echoed basically everything. They were all on the same page together. That's what you need to do. The Islanders, actually, I still think there's some juice they could squeeze from some of their veterans. Unfortunately, one of them is not going to be Adam Pelech. I think you have to move on from him. But
hurt all year.
Yeah, I mean, he's always hurt now. But get a coach that can help develop these guys. Anthony has talked about this several times about how the Islanders have Danny Nelson coming up, Cole Eiserman coming up soon. Obviously, Callum Ritchie. And who knows, maybe a little bit of luck, they end up with James Higgins. This team could reshape itself fairly quickly and be back as a contender again. Who knows? But you can't just keep running it out there again. They're in danger of being, I think the Islanders have passed this, because I think the Rangers are the ones that scream out 2018 San Jose Sharks or 2019 San Jose Sharks. But it's, even though they went to the conference finals that year, but still, it's just, and you gotta have an organizational philosophy. Move on from everybody. Take your time and retool right now. Just, you're right. They had players that could have dealt. Why didn't they? Guys, we talked about one guy that was exceptional in the first round, and that was your Jacob Markstrom. As he stopped 164 of 180 shots. That's a .911 save percentage. I believe that was fifth in among goalies in the playoffs right now. But it's still incredible that they have to start at least every game of the series. Jim, despite losing, Jacob Markstrom was the best performing goalie in the playoffs.
I'll go beer on this. I'm not going to go all the way and say he's the best performing goalie in the playoffs, because there's a guy in Florida named Sergei Bobrovsky who's playing really well right now for the Florida Panthers, and he's a big reason why that the Florida Panthers are in the second round outside of the team in front of him. But some of those saves he made in Game 5 the other night against the Lightning, just unreal throughout the entire season. I think he's been one of the best goalies, but Markstrom's right up there. I mean, there's a reason why I wanted to come to New Jersey, right? Like he even said today, he's like, I believe in this team. I think this team could be a contender. If Tom Fitzgerald's going to call him, he's going to pick up the phone right away, talk extension. I mean, for how long, who knows? But I mean, he wants to be with this team, right? But Markstrom, definitely, you can put him in your top 3, top 5 of goaltenders right now that have played well above, if not better than expected in the playoffs, or on par with what you expected in the playoffs. Because Bobrovsky, Markstrom put up Gustafsson. He's been ill. He was ill the other night, but he's played really well. That's another guy for me. Ottinger at times has looked really good. But there's not really a lot of guys. And so Jacob Markstrom right in the middle there for me. I'm not going to go all the way and say he's been the best, but he's right there.
Philk, is he the best one in the playoffs right now?
Yeah, well, I had to fix this because the playoffs aren't over, as Josh.
I know. I had a smile out of that when Josh said that, but
yeah. So I'm with Jimmy. I think Jimmy kind of outlined it pretty well. I got to go Beer because he played very well, and he was the reason why New Jersey was in that series. Bobrovsky has been very good. Tampa has had their chances. Like Tampa had a lot of chances to get back in those games or blow those games open, and Bobrovsky held them at bay. So give credit to Bobrovsky. Bobrovsky's been very good. He was a Vezina finalist last year. I don't think he'll be a Vezina finalist this year.
He isn't this year. No, he isn't this year.
Yeah, I think it's Logan.
They announced it yesterday.
And I forget who the third is. I know that
Kemper, Hellebuyck, and Vasilevsky, I believe, are the three.
Oh.
I believe. I have to look it again.
Logan Thompson's one of them. I know Logan Thompson's one of them.
No, Logan Thompson is not one of them.
He's not one of them? I thought they said
No.
Darcy Kemper.
It's Darcy Kemper, Vasilevsky, and Hellebuyck, right?
Which, matter of fact, I'll tell you what the Hart Trophy nominees are in a minute.
Jesus Christ, Kemper. No. Ugh.
I know you're thinking about Kemper from a couple years ago, Phil, but I'm thinking about Kemper right now. And those numbers don't really – they're not that impressive. You look at the eye test on the way Darcy Kemper's played, I think he's played great against Edmonton in this series, even though it's an 899 save percentage right now.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
The Kings wasted 2 games where Kemper stood on his head in 4 and 5 and lost.
Right. Exactly. And then
okay. Frank Saravalli might have been right. Josh is right about this. Vince Mercogliano just tweeted out at 2:39, 4 minutes ago. New York Rangers haven't confirmed or announced anything officially yet, but it sounds like things are getting close and very much trending toward Mike Sullivan becoming the 38th coach in franchise history.
Folks, we will be on top of this for you throughout. As soon as this news breaks, we will break off what we're doing.
If this happens today, we will go live and we will talk about it.
But Darcy Kemper's been phenomenal in this playoff run. But first things first, some of the saves that Jacob Markstrom has made for the Devils in that series. Jim, I think about the one in the closing seconds of Game 5 where I think it was a shot from the point, deflected on him. So it's already a redirect that came out of nowhere. He makes the pad save, rebound comes out, and another save has to be made. Like, I don't know where the Devils would have been without Markstrom.
100%.
And they still lost at 5.
Look, he got a lot of crap from that fan base this year. A lot of crap. Like, a lot of crap about, oh, well, he's not good, put this guy in. Oh, we love him. I'm like, if you don't like him, just say you don't like him. It's okay. I'm going to defend Jacob Markstrom because I'm the guy that connected the dots and had it last year. So he's my guy, and I've always liked Jacob Markstrom as a goaltender. He's given the Devils something they haven't had in a long time, stability between the pipes. And that team knowing that they can get a save from their goaltender, they can go the other way and score goals. They just got to find somebody that can do it.
Well, you know what? Fan base gives their players a whole lot of grief and a whole lot of guff, if you will, trying to keep it clean. The Toronto Maple Leafs. Because after all, they could have closed it out in Game 4, but Ottawa was able to win in overtime. They were able to survive a 4-minute double minor in overtime. Game 5, they go into Toronto and blank them. Paul Bissonnette guaranteed they were going to win Game 5. Now he's guaranteeing they're going to win Game 6. And he possibly might have forgotten about this. The Toronto Maple Leafs are 1-13 in closeout games since 2018. That's closeout games. You have a chance to win the series. Phil, Craig Berube needs to call out his core 4.
None of their other coaches in the past have even None of them have come up to this. And I'm going to go round. I'm actually going to go round here. I heard a stat on NHL Network. Or no, it wasn't. It was the TSN that I was watching earlier on with Rita and Gino Rita and Matthew Baron. Marty Baron, sorry. Wow, Matthew Baron. I just pulled the mark.
You went right to his brother.
At least there is a Matthew Baron. At least there was. There was no Justin Huberdeau, no Jason Brodzinski. So I get a little more of a pass than Mark does there. But all jokes aside, Marty brought up the stat that Mitch Marner, I don't think, has scored in a game 4, 5, or 6 of a playoff series in his career. Like, how bad is that? And I'm going to Hockey Reference right now to look at this. Okay, so he only had 1 goal in his very first playoff series against Washington in 2017.
Yeah.
Oh no, he has a game 6 goal against Boston. No goals against Toronto in 2019. I mean, against Boston in 2019. No goals against Columbus in 2020. No goals against Montreal. No goals.
No goals.
Final.
No goals.
No goals, juice. But nothing against Tampa in 2022 in games 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7. 2 goals in game 2 against Tampa in 2023. They won that series somehow. Only 1 goal in game 5 against Florida in 2023. 1 goal in game 4. So basically in like their closeout games or elimination games, he's not scoring goals. And Matthews, I think, has 1 goal in his like last 15 playoff games. So these guys have to start scoring. Berube has to call them out. This is a round for me.
Jim?
Yo, layup. Get the hoop out.
Mm-hmm. Got it right here.
Layup, baby. You got to call them out. And I heard what Craig Berube said the other day. Well, it's not about 4 guys, it's about a team. The problem is that up there it is about 4 guys that have been in the playoffs and haven't been able to get it done. And they got to get it done because if they don't get it done in Game 6, you're going to Game 7. Forget it, man. Anything can happen. You don't want to be in that position. You're hearing all the cliches, we're good position, we're still leading the series. Look, Edmonton almost did it to Florida in Stanley Cup final. We've seen teams come back from 3-0 in early rounds before. Toronto has to put their foot down early against the Ottawa Senators. If they keep the Senators around, Senators are going to force Game 7. I think there's going to be Game 7 anyway because I think Toronto's in their heads.
Let's go with another hat trick. And it's another round and another layup. Hoop is right behind me, guys. This one is so easy. Craig Berube can do one thing none of the other coaches could. First off, Craig Berube could kick the crap out of anybody still, even at his age. Secondly, Craig Berube can look over at that Mike Babcock. It was a little bit too early on. Sheldon Keefe, too green. Mike Babcock could go, see this ring? I got it because I won a cup in St. Louis. What do you guys got? Anything? And you know what? That's what he needs to do. He needs to point that out to everybody and ask them, do they want to be winners or do they want to get paid? Because we're going to ask the question about pressure in our pick'em segment. But there's hockey immortality waiting for you. Because if you thought Mark Messier was immortal for winning a cup with the New York Rangers, you win a cup with the Toronto Maple Leafs, epicenter of the hockey world, after they haven't won a Stanley Cup in over 55 years. I mean, this is it. Go do it. Go get it done. And that's the thing. Craig Berube needs to call them out and let them know, boys, get your shit together. That's what he should be saying. And I'm not going to play the Rick and Morty one right now. But let's look over to one of the best series that has not disappointed. The Colorado Avalanche looking to stay alive in Game 6 versus Dallas Stars. Miro Heiskanen is traveling with the team right now. And hopefully he could play, get back in there, because that helps Dallas with their Stanley Cup credentials. But if Colorado is eliminated tonight, Colorado is the strongest team going home, Jim.
Yes, that's a round for me. 100% round. Like, strongest team going home. Absolutely. What they did since October, revamping their entire team, 10 new players, 2 new goaltenders, getting depth down the middle at the trade deadline, the acquisition of Brock Nelson, Charlotte Coyle, bringing in Marty Natchez, moving out Mikko Rantanen, by the way. You know, that they are one of the strongest teams to go home in the first round. This is what happens with the divisional format. But sometimes it's matchups. Sometimes it's goaltending. Sometimes Dallas is 4-2 against Colorado in the playoffs for some reason. You know, they just have their number. But we talk about certain stars under the microscope. We talk about certain teams under the microscope. Colorado only has 1 series win since they won the last Stanley Cup in 2022. So you have to look at what they're doing. Do they have enough of a sporting cast? But everybody talked about it after the trade deadline, the way they play downhill when they get going. It's the best team that they've had since they won the Cup. If they lose, it's going to be one of their strongest teams not to get out of the first round.
Phil?
I'm not going to say round, even though I do think they might be. I think you can make an argument for Tampa. I mean, I know that a lot of people are going to be like, "Oh, well, look at what Florida did to them." Florida are the defending champs for a bunch of reasons.
Yeah, exactly.
We literally saw it in that series. So while I think, Jim, you may be right, I don't know how much of a gap there is between those two teams. I don't, and that's why I picked them both to face each other in the Stanley Cup Finals in my bracket. This is a good question. Is Bednar on the hot seat if they lose? I don't know. I mean, do I think so? No. Is there a possibility that it could be the case? Yes. I mean,
like Coop in Tampa, like Coop in Tampa, like every year.
I don't think Cooper's going anywhere.
No, neither do I. But it's like every year. Oh, they lose in the first round again. Oh, well, where's Cooper going?
I think, honestly, if you ask me, I would say there's a better chance with Bednar because I don't see Colorado trending upward the same way that I could see Tampa trending upward. I think Tampa is a couple moves away on defense and maybe a little more scoring depth to getting back to where they were in their Cup days. They got closer this year with Gensel and then the Gord and Bjorkstrand trade, even though I think they gave up a little too much in that trade to make that happen. They got back a lot of the depth that they were lacking in their Cup years. Mm-hmm. So for me, I think Bednar could be on the hot seat. But to get back to the topic, yeah, they probably are the strongest team, but I think you can make an argument for Tampa. So beer.
Yeah, I think I can make a strong argument for Tampa. That's the reason why I'm gonna go beer myself. I love the Colorado Avalanche. I love what they did. I love how they basically revamped on the fly. Do you guys remember when Alexander Georgiev was in net for them at the beginning of this year? And look, we're going to talk more about the playoff format at the very end of this because one of our panelists has some choice words for it. But it's one of those things that I can't help but also just say it's what the format is right now. We're going to get further into that in a second. But the Avs, man, this is such a good team. It's going 7. I think they're winning tonight anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And either one of these teams going home is a damn good one. They could be a case to be the one that you could say goes home in this series. So in this question, I mean, but Tampa makes a really strong case, and that's why I think I have to go beer on this one. So, hey, Phil, do you know who leads the NHL in points in the playoffs right now?
There is a tie. I know one of the guys is Adrian Kempe, though, which is kind of insane.
Yeah, because he leads the NHL right now in goals in the playoffs with just 4 and 6 assists. He's tied with a big shocker. Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl both have 10. Phil, go to you on this one. Actually, you know what? No, let's go with Jim on this one. I'm going to save the next one for you. Jim, Adrian Kempe is having the best under-the-radar playoffs in the first round.
I'll go beer on it because you can make a case that his own line mate that he plays with, Andrei Kuzmenko, is having an under-the-radar first round as well, right? Who would have thought a third-round pick at the trade deadline would turn into the production that he's become and made that top line for the LA Kings really, valuable, especially that power play. You look at Kuzmenko, you look at Boldy in Minnesota, a couple of guys there. Like I said, Dylan Strome under the radar out east, right? Like guys like that. Eetu Luosterainen had like a nice little first round for the Florida Panthers. Same with Lundell. I'm gonna go beer here because there's guys, maybe not only on his own team, but guys around the league in other first round series that are having similar. I mean, they don't have the same amount of points, but they're having the same amount of impact and flying under the radar that we're not talking about.
Phil?
Come on, Mark. Bring it out.
All right.
Put it on the screen.
Lay up.
All right, so the craziest part about this is that now with this series that he's having, there it is. There you go. Matt, I hope you saw that. The craziest part is that he's now like a career point per game player. I think it's 29 points in 27 career games for him in the playoffs. And I did not have that on my bingo card at any point. But Adrian Kempe is doing everything he can. And all the concerns that I had about LA's scoring, Adrian Kempe has kind of really washed them out. And you talk about Andrei Kuzmenko coming in and giving up a third rounder for him and everything. That's big for them. That is huge for them. So they needed scoring. They needed secondary scoring. Now they're going to need to kind of tighten things up a little bit tonight. Keep Mick Draisaitl in check. Yeah, I called him Mick Draisaitl.
Yeah, Mick Dry. No, it's true. They need
Mick Dry, whatever you want to call them. But, keep them in check. And then, try to force Game 7. And anything can happen in a Game 7. But you have to know that the Edmonton Oilers, they smell blood. They're a shark that smells blood in the water. So Adrian Kempe is going to have to continue what he's been doing in order for them to force Game 7.
I really want to go round on this one. There's one name that's making me go, wait a minute. And it's Cam Fowler. So it's beer for me. I think he definitely is.
Fowler's been having a great playoff.
Cam Fowler's got 9 points in the playoffs. Show of hands. Who would have thought Cam Fowler would have 9 points in the playoffs so far? And by the way,
I'm going to call you a liar.
Yeah. Even Cam Fowler is telling you not to put your hand up. So
it's a great pickup. Don't get me wrong. Good defenseman. He was a great defenseman in Anaheim. But I don't think anybody saw him being one of the top point getters in the NHL during the playoffs.
He should have been in the Trouba trade.
He could have been dealt probably earlier. I mean, anywhere. I mean, not just this in the Jacob Trouba trade, as you're mentioning, but he could have been dealt for a few years. But look, Cam Fowler, though. I mean, you gotta be happy for the guy who has been languishing in Anaheim for so long. And I mean, Phil, you can bury your head about the Jacob Trouba trade. The Rangers drafted Dylan McElrath instead of him. That's much worse to talk about.
You really had to bring that up, didn't you? You just had to do it. You had to do it.
Second round of the playoffs right now, by the way.
Yeah, and both players are playing in the second round of the playoffs.
No, one of them is only playing in the first round.
Yeah, Fowler's still in the first.
Sorry, that's my mistake. And I even still have
in the second, though.
Yeah, McElrath is a nothing piece in Washington.
No, I know, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, guys, let's go to the words of one of our panelists, Mr. John Falkowski, who said, I'll say this, having Tampa and Florida face each other in the first round is more than enough reason to change around the current playoff format and go back to the 1 versus 8. So I ask Mr. John Falkowski, do you agree with your own words? Short answer is yes, but expand on that.
Hoop.
So it needs to go back to 1 versus 8, right?
Hoop. Yes. Hoop.
Yes.
He said hoop. Bring out the
He did say hoop. I thought he said whoop.
No, he said hoop.
Woo.
No, not woo woo Claude Giroux. So hoop with the T.
Got the hoop. It's all right here.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I mean, this is just Edmonton and LA 4 years in a row. Do I really need to see the same damn series 4 years in a row? This is not 90s Colorado and Detroit. This is not. It's just not. Get rid of this format. This format sucks. I don't know how Benton's. Oh, this is great. Our viewership is great. You're having two teams that should have been playing each other in the Eastern Conference Finals play each other in the first round. How dumb do you have to be? Best sport, worst league. Here we are again. I can't say this enough. Best sport, worst league.
Jim, what do you think? Should they have gone back to the 1 versus 8?
What I think and what they're going to do are two different things. It's never happening. So unless there's like a big push from people, it's not happening. I'm going beer because, look, there's a part of me that likes it because of the entertainment value to see. Because I want to see if LA can actually do this. Right now, they're trailing. Can they force Game 7? Like, these rivalry games, these rivalry series are really good and fun to watch. Every series in these divisional formats have been really entertaining to a point. Obviously, I always rag on the Devils Hurricanes one. It was always going to be 8 of 8 because that's just what it is. You know, you just don't have the star power, and even if you did, it wouldn't have mattered. It would have been 8 out of 8 because it's Jersey and Carolina. I see Phil's point. I get it. I've been through 1 through 8. We've seen 1 through 8. We've seen upsets in 1 through 8 too. But when we put these teams together, Edmonton and Colorado play in the first round. So, or Edmonton, Dallas played in the first round. One of the two if you did 1 through 8. Good teams still going home in the Western Conference.
Yeah, but the other issue is what incentive is there to be a top team then? Like
there's no incentive. There's not even an incentive in 1 through 8 either.
There is. You're getting the 8th seed, and the 8th seed is a team
the Devils were a 1 seed for many years and still lost in the first round. So
yeah, well, I mean that's because they were flawed. They were
in '98 and '99. They were one of the best teams in the National Hockey League those 2 years.
And they lost to Pittsburgh and Ottawa.
Yeah, they shouldn't have lost. Well, Ottawa they shouldn't have lost to. Pittsburgh, Martin Straka knows how to play against New Jersey. For that guy's a devil.
And Yager destroyed the Devils in that series.
Yeah, they did. They did that year. Look, to me, I don't want to toe a line here but I am because I've talked to people in the league and I just talked with Steve Mayer, president of NHL Content and Events. They love the way the regular season ended. They love the way the playoffs are going. I know it's not changing. So would I like to see it be different again? But it's not.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of going through the math on it right now. I got it would be Toronto would be the 2 seed, Washington the 1 seed. Yeah, Tampa would have gotten the Devils, right? So
I think Toronto might have got New Jersey if I did it.
Yeah, I mean, it's this is the hard part when it comes to the playoffs, and this is where I kind of agree with you, Jim. I think it is what it is. Like you're gonna get these matchups no matter what, and I mean, you look at the next round. It's not even good. There's going to be no slouches in the next round. It's going to be Washington versus Carolina. There's your 1 versus 2. Florida is this defending Stanley Cup champion. They'll be up against maybe the Toronto Maple Leafs. either Edmonton or LA. Those are two suitable teams. And whoever wins Dallas and the Avalanche, even the West is full of wagons. So,
yeah, Dallas, I was right. Dallas, Colorado, you still would have gotten to half the format would have still been the same outside of LA and Edmonton.
And I think it's also because this promotes a little bit more fan interaction. It gets them to do brackets. We have the bracket challenge. Of course, I just lost my Eastern Conference champion last night, but we always talk about this, that it needs to go back to 1 versus 8, but people want the divisional matchups also. And it's funny because they did this to get more divisional matchups, and we still haven't gotten a Rangers-Islanders series since 1994, and only one Rangers-Devils series since
2008.
2012 actually.
2012, yeah. But in the first round was 2008, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
That is correct, sir. So, guys, thanks for listening to the Big Apple Hockey Bar Talk. That is it.
No, I'm trying to see if there are any updates on Sullivan. I could text somebody and see if.
Probably.
The answer to get Anthony.
They always tell you, Big Lou.
No, Big Lou doesn't have him. Big Lou's not there anymore, Sean. Can't
Big
use
Lou's
Big Lou
gone.
anymore.
See, I wonder if now Big Lou would let. I wonder if Big Lou would let guys come on a show like this, or
absolutely
sorry,
not.
now that he's not gone.
No,
or
Big Lou said no. Big Lou's gonna be like, no way, man. Mm-mm.
Yeah, Jim, I've said over and over again, Lou Lamoriello, the best American hockey mind of all time.
Absolutely, 100%. Greatest hockey mind. American, doesn't matter. He's so good. The issue, look, he's just stuck in his ways, and that's the way it's going to be, right? He has one way of doing things he's not going to change. Like, that's the way it's going to be.
I really don't mind that. So
neither do I, but I think at some point you have to be able to learn and adapt and live in the 21st century.
Yeah, but
some of the rules are a little stupid. Like, some of the stuff, some of the control that he has, some of the things that he does, some of the contracts that he gives out. It's like, okay, it works pre-salary cap.
Yeah.
It doesn't work now.
Post-salary cap.
Yeah, I mean, Lou Lamoriello did nothing to help his legacy in the salary cap era.
No, he didn't.
Right now. And I mean, and Jimmy, you definitely, I know you'll remember this, but the 3M contracts in 2005 with Malakoff, McGillis, and McGillney, and how badly those contracts turned out, that was not a good start for him. He had to deal a first-round pick to San Jose to get rid of Malakoff, and that deal.
The Ryan Clough deal.
Ryan Clough deal. I mean,
Camilleri's, like, after they went to the Cup in 2012, it should have been like, okay, we had one last run with this team. We got Marty one more run. Let's start over and bring the guys in. But no, we got close. We lost in Game 6. We can get back there.
There's too much of that thinking that goes with them, where you're thinking, hey, we were close, we could do it again. Sometimes you just have a run.
And that's exactly what happened.
And everything fell perfectly for New Jersey in 2012. Henrique scores. Philly and Pittsburgh beat the crap out of each other. They get a beat-up Flyers team, take care of Flyers. Then they play a rival in the Rangers. That was their Stanley Cup. And then he just ran into a red-hot LA Kings team.
Yeah.
Kings were never losing that series.
No.
That's what I said. Even if the Rangers would have beaten the Devils, which I think they should have, they were not beating LA.
No one was beating LA that year.
No one was beating LA. LA was a team of destiny. They had been playing playoff-type hockey for about 2 months to make it as an 8 seed. You got to remember that. And then when they bulldozed through the first 3 rounds and lost 2 games?
Yeah.
3 rounds?
Yeah.
It was ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. They made mincemeat of Vancouver, who no one thought anyone was going to do that to. Then they take care of St. Louis, who was also a really good team that didn't let up a lot of goals. That was that year that Brian Elliott looked like a Vezina caliber goalie.
Yeah.
And then they go and then they face Phoenix in the Western Conference Finals. and then they dismantle them after they get there for the first time in their history. Just crazy to think about.
And by the way, I've mentioned this before. I'll say it again. That was the first time an 8 seed defeated a 1, 2, and a 3. It was also the first time a 1 seed faced an 8, a 7, and a 6. And if those two would have met up in the Stanley Cup Finals, I don't know what would have happened. But I still think LA probably was the team.
Hold on here.
Yeah.
Where?
We're gonna wait to find out if it's official.
I'm not seeing anything.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything either. So I am also not looking at that. It looked like somebody was trying to reenact the first trial in the Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
So I got word from somebody I trust that's connected, and he's saying he's hearing that it's done.
Okay.
And I think you know who I'm talking about, Mark.
Yes. We're still going to wait for the official word.
Yeah.
So why don't we run these through? We'll do our pick'ems, and then we'll do a blind ranking or two and go on from there, and maybe the news will be official by then. So let's do it. Big Apple Hockey Pick'ems, where we're going to give you 2 choices. You got to pick one or the other. You can get with this. You can get with that. I had to say that because I guaranteed that would get copyright.
Oh, Mark.
So, but it would be copyright claim. So, all right. Jim, let's start with you. Better defenseman in the postseason right now, Shayne Gostisbehere or Morgan Reilly?
Oof. Yo, Gostisbehere.
I gotta go with Gostisbehere too. He's been absolutely
him, great shot, good defender, fits Carolina's system. Morgan Reilly really hasn't really played well this year at all.
Yeah, Phil, you going with the Ghost Bear too? Almost the same amount.
I'm gonna go with Reilly. Actually, I just think he's playing tougher minutes. I think he's playing well. I think Toronto finally has a better defensive core around him, so he doesn't have to do everything in terms of shutdown and offense. So it's finally allowed him to play a freer game. If you ask me who's been better offensively, I'm gonna have to go Ghost here. But I think Reilly's played tougher minutes and he's played better defensively.
Phil, let's go right back to you. Better forward right now in the postseason, Dylan Strome or Kyle Connor?
Kyle Connor. I think Kyle Connor's facing a tougher team. I don't think Montreal is that good. I want to see how Dylan Strome fares in the second round against a better team. Kyle Connor's been really good for them, especially with Mark Scheifele not being in there right now. Mark Scheifele has kind of fallen off a little bit, but Kyle Connor has really kind of picked up the slack.
Jim?
I'm gonna go Kyle Connor too. I've always been a fan of Kyle Connor. As much as I've been praising Dylan Strome throughout this show, Kyle Connor has just been, when the Winnipeg Jets need a goal, there's Kyle Connor. And he's been doing that all year. Again, statistics don't lie. He can score against Jordan Binnington.
To be a little bit of the contrarian, I'm going to say it's Dylan Strome right now. You convinced me on it before. Dylan Strome's been doing a lot of the little things. And one thing he's done that Kyle Connor hasn't done, showing up on the road. It's because, but that has to do with most of Winnipeg. They have not shown up at St. Louis. Hopefully they will tomorrow night. Better postseason goal, Jim. Jacob Slavin versus your New Jersey Devils or Valeri Nichushkin against the Dallas Stars?
Oh, Jacob Slavin. Big Jacob Slavin guy. I know Nichushkin's goal in Game 3 is outstanding. I mean, look, Slavin, the way he, breaks up the play, doesn't allow Nason to get out of his zone, knocks it out, brings it down the wall, and then shoots on that angle and scores. Man, Jacob Slavin needs to get some flowers finally and be like put in the discussion as one of the best defensemen in the NHL.
Yeah, they always give him the caveat on that, and we still think we have the Rod Langway Award to hand out to him. Phil, what do you think?
I'm going to go Slavin as well, just because what was Dallas doing on that play?
Yeah, a lot of guys are watching.
What happened to
Many guys are watching.
I don't know what happened to their defense. Like, if I could put together a video of like bloopers with like Benny Hill music on in the background, that'd be one of the first clips I would put in that video. Because what is there? And then I would have like arrows all over the place pointing to the defenders, and then and then I would go to the clip, that gif of that dude. And he has that question look on his face, and then all the question marks pop up all over the place in the picture, because that, like, what happened with their defense. The move that Nichushkin made was beautiful, but what the hell was that defense?
You know what, guys? We'll make it a hat trick. I got to go with Jacob Slavin on this one as well. Yes, Jim, the way he broke up the play. Here's one thing I don't understand. Does nobody have film? Do they not have film on Jacob Slavin? When, especially in the first round of the playoffs, he'll shoot it off the back of the goalie's head and in. He did it to Ilya Sorokin last year. He's done this to other goalies. It's not even. It's almost not even funny.
Nope.
The breakup at the beginning of it, what was the best part? Phil, going right back to you. The Toronto Maple Leaf under more pressure, Austin Matthews or Mitch Marner?
This is really, really tough.
And you got to pick
Marner has, although he has 18 points in his last 21 playoff games, you want to know how many goals he has in that span?
One.
Want to take a guess?
Oh, wait, 3.
Mark, you said 1?
I said 1.
Jim, how many do you think he has in that span?
0.
He has 3 goals in his 21 playoff games.
Jesus.
3. That's terrible.
That's not good.
For a guy that's as good as he is, that is simply not good enough. Matthews, in his last 15, has 2 goals. So, like, you could literally say either or, but I'm going to have to go with Matthews here because he is the face of the franchise and he now has that captaincy. Matthews does not have any goals in any elimination games over that span. And the last goal in an elimination game that he has was in the Tampa Bay game in 2023 when they knocked out the Lightning. And it was a John Tavares overtime winner that got them out. None in elimination games. It's just, yeah, you could go both here. I'm going Matthews just strictly because he has the C.
Yeah, you got to pick one. That's why we do pick-ems. Jim?
I got to go Marner. I mean, you can pick either guy. You're not going to be wrong, but I'm going to go Marner because all we hear about is Marner not showing up, Mitch Marner. You know, can we get Four Nations Marner? Can we see what he can do, thrive under pressure? Austin Matthews is locked to a contract. Mitch Marner's a free agent. He's got to get it done. Or else, I don't know what could Toronto decide, hey, you know what? Not going to get it done. And maybe Marner's like, you know what? I might walk out of here too.
Jim, 100%. That's exactly what I was going to go with. Austin Matthews is paid. He's just got to show up at one point and just get the monkey off his back and score a big goal and let everybody know, hey, I am this great player. Don't worry about that. Mitch Marner, on the other hand, this was a guy that supposedly Toronto was asking him to waive his no-move clause for Mikko Rantanen to go there at one point. And I don't know how much that rumor is true. You can tell me. But if that's the case, Mitch Marner, you got to make your You got to make your presence known. And you know what? Maybe you erase things like that clearer in Game 6, I think it was, versus the Montreal Canadiens that led to the tying goal and the choke job that they did right there, that they were up 3-1. The Maple Leafs need Mitch Marner to show up in a big way. And I sort of hope they do. I'm not rooting for the chaos, although I admit, guys, I root for chaos because sometimes it's just fun to see it.
Yeah.
And of course, who will extend the series tonight? The Kings or the Wild? Philk?
I'm going to go Minnesota.
Jim?
Minnesota.
I really want it to be LA. I really want it to be LA.
I hope it's LA too, but I just don't think it's gonna happen.
I hope Edmonton finishes them off. I really do. I would love to see McDavid.
The best part would be if the thing is, if LA loses and Edmonton finishes his job off, what Jim Hiller said is gonna live in infamy after the game when he was talking to, one of the reporters about, next question and moving on. 3 times in the series, they sat back and got away with it once.
Yeah.
You can't do that against the Edmonton Oilers and let a team dominate you for 20 minutes and lose the game.
Yeah, they dominated that game. The shot totals were just a crazy disparity. I thought I was watching the 2012 Rangers with that shot disparity.
It was ridiculous. How do you dominate through 4 periods on the road and give it all away within 2 periods?
Well, it's the same thing they say, the old adage of football, Jim. Prevent defense only prevents you from winning.
Right.
So it's that's what they really needed to do with this one. And we're going to look. We talked about the hit in Game 4, where we said in the Montreal-Washington series, that Tom Wilson laid out. After that, the series wasn't the same. After that Evan Bouchard bomb that tied the game Sunday night, this series hasn't been the same either.
No.
And that's even with Darcy Kemper standing on his head in the first 40 minutes of that game, and then Andre Kuzmenko giving him the lead. You're afraid of Calvin Pickard? No.
No, nobody's afraid of Calvin Pickard. Everybody's afraid of Mick Draisaitl, though.
Yeah, but you can't let those – and you just lost a game where they did nothing. They literally each had an assist. They didn't, dominate the game like they did in Games 3 and 4. You let the other guys beat you. And that's how you lost Game 5. And unking-like hockey, go back to the challenge. If we're going to talk about the challenge, go whatever. I don't care about challenge. I don't care about – look – Quentin Byfield needed to get the puck out of his zone, didn't do it. Just chip the puck out, get it out, and that's it. So that's what I got to say.
Yeah. All right. Guys, we got some blind rankings we're going to do. Let's do some playoff blind rankings. This is all-time playoffs that we're going to do with some of these. Jim, you're the guest. Would you like playoff performers from the past or money playoff goaltenders that you have to rank?
Give me a goaltenders.
All right. So we're going to do that. Money playoff goalies. And let's
Is this all-time or current?
Well, there are some retired guys on here. Who would you want in net? Game 7. And just guys that played excellent. And we'll start with the New York Rangers, Henrik Lundqvist.
Depends on who else you have on this list.
Well, that's why it's a blind ranking. You don't know. Are we doing 5 or 1 or 10?
5. We're doing 5.
5. Okay, I'd put him at 3.
Chris Osgood.
Ozzy. I love Ozzy, but he's definitely below Hank on this list. I go put him at 5.
Matt Murray.
Emery had help in 2016 and 2017. That tandem of Fleury won them a couple of series. I'm not putting him. I'm going to put him at 4.
Tim Thomas.
Yeah, he's that. I mean, for what he did that run alone, 2011. So he's either one or 2. Put him at 2.
And the guy that's got, I had this, by the way, Tim Thomas, I think it was if you had
winner.
50.
Yep, Conn Smythe winner. Yep.
Yeah. Tim Thomas, if you do goalies with 50 starts in the playoffs, he had 50 of them on the nose. Highest save percentage of all time, 933. And lastly, Mika Kiprusoff.
I'll put Mika Kiprusoff at 1. I have no problem with Mika Kiprusoff at 1. If it wasn't for Mika Kiprusoff, the Calgary Flames are not in the Stanley Cup final in 2004. And I would take Mika Kiprusoff over those guys, the way he's played in the playoffs. I like Mika Kiprusoff's game. I have zero problem with putting him at 1.
So, by the way, oddly enough, on this list, Chris Osgood, the lowest save percentage out of all these goalies.
Yeah.
Look,
you have well in '98 to replace Mike Vernon, and he also won them another Stanley Cup and went to another final. But if I'm going to take out of those guys, I'm putting those other guys ahead of them.
Yeah. I mean, Matt Murray, 921 career playoff save percentage.
I mean,
that ties it with Kiprusoff and Henrik Lundqvist.
I would have Murray at 5. I would have Osgood at 4. I'd have Kiprusoff at 3. Thomas at 2 and Lundqvist at 1. If Lundqvist would have had better teams in front of him, he'd have 2 or 3 Stanley Cups.
Oh, that's for certain, especially his Game 7 numbers.
He is the best goaltender I've seen in Game 7 sans Patrick Waugh.
Now, oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jim.
I was going to say Dominic Hasek was pretty damn good if you needed him in one game. But again, this goes to the debate of who you take in a Game 7 between 3 legendary. Like, you go down that rabbit hole if you want.
I always love the one, the meme of LeBron James having the most points in a Game 7 and Michael Jordan saying, "What's a Game 7?"
That's the best meme because it's true.
Yeah, because it is. Michael Jordan didn't let you beat him in Game 1. Never mind anything else. By the way, right now the Mets are still down 3-1 to the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Figures.
All right,
That's losing to bad teams. Typical.
That's what they do.
Typical.
That's
Mets.
why everybody that stopped me, Jim, they're like, "Oh, the Mets are going to be so great this year." I'm like,
Yeah, right.
You are not a Met fan. You have no idea what you're up against.
Bro, I tell everybody every year, I said they still can't beat the Miami Marlins.
Especially when they need the win. All right, Jim, here you go. Playoff before. Oh, wait, sorry. Phil, this is you.
Yeah,
Phil,
I was
this
like,
is you.
wait a minute, I just did it.
Yeah, playoff performers. This is random guys that have had good numbers in the playoffs. You might get an all-star in there. Let's start with, for the Philadelphia Flyers, he had a great playoff run, RJ Umberger.
Wow, what a run.
Are we talking career or singular runs?
Singular run. Or who would you just take?
Singular run. I mean,
I
think was this the 05-06 run that they're talking about?
I think it was the 2010 run with him.
Yeah, Umberger had a year that year.
Was that? Hold on.
Yeah, in the playoffs, Umberger.
He had the 10 goal. No, it was the 08 run.
It was the 08 run, yes.
17 games in 08, 15 points. I'm going to go 5.
All right, let's go to the former Islander that performed well for the Tampa Bay Lightning, Sean Bergenheim.
Sean Bergenheim? What the fuck is this?
He had a good run with Tampa. He had a 9-goal run with Tampa in 2010, 2011.
4? I mean, I have to put it 4 now. I mean, I would have put that at 5, but Goat Nando ain't. Who's Goat Nando, Brian? Oh my God.
A guy that's doing it right now for the Florida Panthers, Carter Verhaeghe.
You're talking about his run last year, I would imagine.
Mhm.
Because he led all playoff goal scorers, I believe, last year. I'm going to have to go 3. Oh, Fernando Pisani. Oh, yeah. 2006
Fernando
run.
Pisani.
Yeah, man. He had a hell of a run.
All right. 2 more. These are both really good players because the guy that got dispatched last night, and oddly enough, a 14 – did I hear this right? A 14-game scoreless drought for him? You wouldn't associate that with Nikita Kucherov. Goalless drought. I'm sorry, not scoreless.
Now, this one, I wish you would have like the stats up for the specific run that you were talking about when you had these available, because now I have to go look these up because I don't know which run you're talking about. Are you talking about his 2020 run? Are you talking about his 2021 run? His 2022 run?
Well, just go with that. Pick one of them because they're all up there. 34 points in 19, 20,
games,
32.
23 games. I mean, I'd imagine it's probably his 2020 run. He didn't win a Conn Smythe any of these years because I know Braden Point ended up, I believe, winning a Smythe and Vasilevsky won one.
I thought it was Nicholas, not Nicholas Head, but
Victor Hedman. Oh,
Victor
yeah,
Hedman.
Victor Hedman, yeah. I'm going to put Kucherov at 1 because I think we were talking about 2020, and that 34-point run is outside of McDavid, probably the highest we've seen in a while. So,
and the last guy was one hell of a clutch scorer. He's lost a lot of Stanley Cups lately. Mr. Corey Perry.
I mean, that has to go at 2, but like,
if you look at his stats, he's his. I don't understand why my stats aren't coming up right now. But those stats in the playoffs, he has had an exception.
No. Now you're moving goalposts. Are we talking about singular runs? Are we talking about?
We're talking about singular runs. I went with Corey Perry for.
Come on, Mark.
Well, he's got a 10-goal playoff with Anaheim in 15. So, all right. Well, we'll classify that at the end as the Mark special on that. So guys, any word right now with Mike Sullivan right now, or is it still?
I didn't see anything. No,
I haven't seen anything else. I've been checking this.
It's most likely going to be the case. I mean, if we're being honest, like it's probably happening.
Yeah, Mercogliano saying the Rangers haven't officially confirmed or announced anything yet, but it sounds like they're very close. As we've already said this before.
Definitely. I mean, again, it's going to happen. Probably just a matter of when at this point, not if anymore.
Well, who now? There's the rumors about Tortorella potentially being his assistant.
That'd be stupid.
Yeah, I don't. I have no idea. I mean, I haven't seen anything yet, but I'm trying to find more information as we speak.
Yeah.
Joker arc. Oh, man. Brian, I mean, I've known you for a bit. Yeah, you're gonna have to go full Joker here, buddy.
Brian, I just saw you tweet about that, so I'm liking it.
Yeah, this is gonna be where you fall into a pool of fucking toxic shit. Your skin turns white, and you become Gotham's biggest villain. Oh man, you either live long and you either live long, or you either die a hero, or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. You're becoming the villain, my friend.
And it's very true, especially just that would just be the craziest thing.
Yeah, this is the question: is it Pekka's gone, or is Is Muse staying? Like, what are they doing with that? I mean, I have no idea anymore. I feel like they should have just, yeah. There was Two-Face that said that, but I'm just saying Brian's going to become the villain. He's going to become Joker. So, yeah. Harvey did in fact say that.
Jim, they tweeted out the Hart finalists?
Yeah, the Hart finalists today are as follows.
It's McKinnon, Draisaitl, and
it is not McKinnon, Draisaitl, and Hellebuyck. It is Kucherov, Draisaitl, and Hellebuyck for the Hart.
Arthur Staple was saying he didn't have Hellebuyck in there. That's what he was saying.
Yeah, so you guys want a little secret? I had a vote this year.
Oh, nice.
I had McKinnon, Hellebuyck, and Kucherov.
Oh, that's what I was looking at from you. Okay.
Yeah, that was my top three. That was my top three in my voting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think Kucherov you gotta give some serious consideration to because of what Tampa was dealing with. I get McKinnon and why he's going to be there because of the whole Rantanen trade and that controversy. And then,
the official announcement from the NHL is Draisaitl, Hellebuyck, Kucherov.
Yeah. I understand that, but McKinnon should have. I think you could have given McKinnon a spot there. But I do agree with Hellebuyck being in there. I don't think Winnipeg is the team that they are without Hellebuyck.
No, 100% they're not.
And I'll tell you right now, that defense, not good enough. Not good enough. Scott Arniel, I don't think Scott Arniel is that great of a coach. I don't. It's not that I don't like him. I just think there's a lot of reliance on Hellebuyck in the regular season, and then you can't do that in the postseason. So the better teams are going to eat you up, especially when the goaltender doesn't play to that level, which Hellebuyck doesn't in the postseason.
It'll be interesting to see what the Rangers do, to be honest, too, and how the official voting, because it's so hard, and I get why the Hart Trophy came out. You can't leave a 50-goal scorer off it, but it's all right, yeah, but McKinnon, is it a McKinnon McDavid kind of effect now where we're these guys could be nominated every year for these awards, because McKinnon is actually up for the Best Player award that Ted Lindsay voted on by the players. So, those, and I see where people are saying, yeah, those two should be the same. I agree, but it's tough.
I don't know if I agree with that, because I believe Iginla in 2002 won the Lindsay, and it was Theodore that won the Hart.
Yeah.
And the reason why was because Calgary didn't make the playoffs. But when your first-line center is Craig Conroy, who was a third-line checking center for years before that, you're probably not going to make the playoffs, even with Iginla having a 52-goal, 96-point season.
Iginla had a great year that year.
He was unbelievable. I mean, Olympic gold medal.
I think he's one of the best out there. I mean, that seems similar to when Carey Price won the Hart. I think that was the year Jamie Benn only had
Jamie Benn had 87 points.
87 points won the Art Ross that year.
Yeah, final game of the year. He had a 4-point game. He had a hat trick and an assist in the final game of the year.
And had 87 points.
Yeah,
again, I just want to go back to this comment, and I know what you're getting at, man. But sorry, you don't just base somebody off their playoff numbers. Because after all,
so for this logic, it's worth it to pay Sam Bennett $7.5 million a year, right? I just want everybody to keep that same energy for Sam Bennett.
Yeah, you gotta pay Sam Bennett, baby, always.
I mean, Jim, we get back to this all the time, but you don't pay somebody for playoff numbers when you don't make the playoffs.
No, exactly. And then that's why you don't try to make changes to your team and change the direction of your team and change the players on your team.
And then get
the playoff for the idea of the playoffs when you aren't even there yet.
This comment, thank you. And not even average, because I don't think he's average. He's above average. But he's nowhere close to elite in the regular season anymore. Nowhere close to it.
No.
He hasn't been close.
No.
Again, This is why when it came to the negotiations, you have to take hard lines on there. And Jeff McNeil, what are you looking at? You got to take hard line approaches to the contract negotiations. They thought with their heart, not with their head. And now a guy who's the same age as Andre Vasilevsky, who, yes,
Drury made that same mistake with Barclay Goodrow. And the minute they signed him, I was on here with us. We were on here. And the first thing I said is that they have to win on one of three fronts in a contract, in a negotiation. It's either got to be term you got to win on, AAV, or trade protection. And they lost on all three with him, and that contract was terrible. And the other thing, lost again with Igor. They lost on the AAV. They gave him too much. They lost on the years. You gave him 8 years to what will be a 30-year-old goaltender that's not going to fit your trajectory with the way everything's going right now. And not only that, you gave him full trade protection the entire way through.
And again, people are still forgetting one thing about Igor Shesterkin. He's getting overworked right now, and he's aging.
Yeah.
Like, do you think he's going to be 38 and worth $11.5 million? That's why I was screaming with guys going, what are you doing? Saying, hold on.
If this is the case, if the Rangers would have been doomed and they're nothing without Igor, then the philosophy should be blow the fucking thing up and rebuild because the team in front of them isn't good enough. And that's why I said before, the last team that won with their best player was the goaltender without a shadow of a doubt, no argument, was the 1993 Canadiens. And what had to happen in order for them to win that cup? 10 overtime wins, a postseason record, and Patrick Roy had arguably the greatest run of any goaltender in the playoffs ever. So this is what we're going to do. We've done this for the last 20 years. We've been down this road. Why are we doing this again? It hasn't worked. Yes, if that's the case, the team is poorly constructed. That's the point. Get away from this philosophy. Get away from doing this. No. The 03 Devils, yes, Marty was very good. I'm not going to lie to you there. But Waugh was on another level.
93 Patrick Waugh was on another level. Like, it wasn't even...
I'm sorry, it's not close.
There was nobody that could walk... There was nobody that could walk into a locker room and say, guys, they're not going to get another one past me. Go out and score the game winner. That team won 10 games in overtime.
In a row.
10 fucking games in overtime. With John LeClaire having back-to-back overtime winners in what? Game 2 and 3 of the finals?
3 and 4.
3 and 4 in LA. 3 and 4 in LA. Desjardins scored 2.
Desjardins gets a hat trick. What the fuck?
Yeah. Like, dude, the guys that won overtime games and down the stretch for that team were ridiculous. Yeah, Marty played great in 03. Deserved a Conn Smythe. Deserved everything. Didn't get it. It's all right. Had a little funny rant with somebody the other day saying who's ever won the Conn Smythe Trophy in the first round. Greg Wyshynski put that tweet out, and I quote tweeted him and said John Sebastian Zaguerre because he did. Because he did. In 03, he won the Conn Smythe in the first round. Still not bitter. Yeah, I am.
Although, he also won it in the round against Dallas, too.
Yeah, second round.
I was about to say, Jaguar, all right, so Jaguar was very good. And Anaheim, the only thing I'll say is those illegal shoulder pads. And
for who?
They were illegal at the time, but they ended up being illegal.
I still, look, I'll say this. Marty Brodeur had 7 shutouts in the playoffs that year. 3 in the final. And you're telling me he wasn't good enough to win the Conn Smythe Trophy?
I don't think you could have given it to him over Jaguar. I just don't.
You could have given it to Friesen. You could have given it to Langenbrunner.
No, stop. Jeff Friesen, no.
He had a good postseason.
Jeff Friesen had a good run. But
Jeff
Friesen's run wasn't even as good as some of the runs that were in the blind rankings.
I don't know about that. You could pull that up. Jeff Friesen actually had a really good run in 03. If you look back on it.
I'm on it right now.
Jeff Friesen, yeah.
Jeff Friesen, Langenbrunner, Scott Niedermayer.
He had 10 goals and 14 points in 24 games.
Yeah.
That was not as good as some of those other guys.
I mean, the guy he was traded for, didn't he have a really good postseason?
Brodeur had 7 shutouts, but faced a total of 30 shots in those combined games. I don't think it was 30 in general, but the number was low. He was not averaging a ton of shots against. And that's why save percentages were low throughout his career compared to guys like
that trade was Oleg Tverdovsky and Jeff Friesen going from Anaheim. Peter Sikora went the other way. Along with
I mean that trade helped them out. That team helped. You're welcome for Cat.
By the way, but it's kind of funny because Sikora only had 4 goals in that playoffs. 2 of them were game winners. I think he had the
Sikora, yeah.
That Raw run in 1993, 16-4,
ridiculous,
929 save percentage, 213 goals against. For
only guy
1993, those numbers are unbelievable. And you know how many saves he made in the entire playoffs in those 20 games? 601.
Jesus.
He led in saves. He didn't lead in saves.
And he has the most playoff wins in NHL history as a goaltender.
You want to know what else he's got? The most Conn Smythes of any player in NHL history.
He's the only goalie to win 3 Conn Smythe trophies.
The only player to win 3.
Yeah.
Not Sidney Crosby. Not Wayne Gretzky.
First of all,
we
can go down that road because we all know Phil Kessel probably should have won one of those Conn Smythe trophies.
Yeah, you know what? I agree. Phil, you could have argued Phil Kessel or Matt Murray in 2016.
100%. Not even close. Phil Kessel probably should have won that year. But anyway.
Yeah, but yet everybody's saying all along, they're like, oh, it's obviously Sidney Crosby in that year. By the way, guys, this was a rumor going around yesterday. And again, is this confirmed yet, guys, that the Utah Mammoth is what the name's going to be?
Well,
somebody might got fired because they leaked it on the YouTube page.
If they leak that out, yeah, somebody's definitely getting fired. I don't mind it. I thought
there were better options out there, to be honest.
Well, the Utah Yeti just flowed so nicely.
Yeah, I like the Yeti, but I heard that they weren't going with that because of the whole copyright thing with Yeti.
Yeah.
But why not just negotiate with Yeti and make a cross promotion?
Or you could have just stayed Utah Hockey Club. I wouldn't have had a problem with that,
I don't like that. I think that's
I'd rather have a team name.
I know, but it's whatever.
Anyway. Yeah, I mean we're kind of soldiering out here because we want a little bit of Mike Sullivan.
Guys want Rangers news. I don't think it's coming. Maybe tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so Brodeur had a 15 and 2 16 shutouts. That's a period and a half worth of shots allowed from the Rangers.
Nobody played that system better than the Devils.
All right, so I'll say this.
Nobody.
I don't think Marty Brodeur is the best goaltender of all time. I think it's Hasek. I think Patrick Waugh's number 2, and I have Brodeur at 3. Brodeur for me.
I mean, it's the top 3, no matter what order they're in.
I go Ken Dryden and
Ken Dryden.
I can't put Ken Dryden in the top 3. No, I can't even put him in top 5. When you play behind 8 to 10 Hall of Famers every year, I'm sorry, he might have been the best goaltender of that generation, but he also won.
A short career too. Short in NHL.
Yeah,
very, very short career as well. And not only that, but he didn't win any Vezina trophies in a time where Vezinas were voted on. So, I think with Brodeur, he was the right fit at the right time and the exact perfect goaltender for what they did back then.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I don't think they win as much as they do with another goaltender that couldn't handle the puck the way that he did.
Oh, he was the third defenseman back there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
He's
the
third defenseman.
and the way that they didn't call interference back then and the two-line pass allowed them to play that 1-2-2 the way that they played it for years. And he was the perfect guy. You couldn't break through that neutral zone. So what were you doing? You were dumping it in, and there was no trapezoid. So what happened?
Right back out.
Right back out. That's it.
And he prolonged a lot of guys' careers on defense because of the way he could move the puck.
I don't think Ken Danico plays 20 years if he's.
He even said it. He's like, Brodeur saved,
But
he played
you look
behind
at
2 Hall of Famers. That was it.
You also look at the way the team got coached after the lockout. Chico Resch said it best: "No team backs checks like the Devils."
No.
Well,
play behind 2 Hall of Fame defensemen. That's it.
The craziest thing when I look back at the Devils is that the best team that Martin Brodeur had in front of him was the 0-1 team.
Yes.
That team was filled with talent. They had every single piece they needed to win. It just Joe Sakic, Patrick Waugh, Rob Blake, and Ray Bourque were just
Adam Foote
as well. But they had the fact that Colorado won without Peter Forsberg for the final 2.5 rounds?
Yeah,
was just crazy to think.
You know who else was on that team? Your general manager.
Yeah, Chris Drury. Yep, and he was very good in
and Alex Tanguay.
Alex Tanguay, Elon Hayduk, Steven Reinpracht. They had a very good team.
That was a great final. Like, a lot of people, I mean, look, I'm disappointed they didn't close it out, but that was a hell of a final with the 2 best teams all year matching up in the Stanley Cup final that year.
Yeah, and that's what the Stanley Cup final should be. It should be the 2 best teams. That's why I get so pissed about this format. I don't want to see the 2 best teams in one conference playing each other in the first round. Unless they somehow underachieve in the regular season, they end up 4-5, then yeah. Hold on. Dan Whitaker.
By the way, Brodeur did play behind a lot of good players like Danico and Rafalski and some of the ones in there, but I mean, the only 2 Hall of Famers are Niedermeyer and Stevens.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing. Rafalski, if he would have played longer in the NHL, I think that could have been a guy that you could have at least argued for the Hall of Very Good.
Yep.
Maybe a borderline Hall of Famer, because Rafalski was a capable number 2, number 3 for a very, very, very long time.
Mm-hmm.
He did really well in Detroit for those years.
Yeah, he was great in Detroit as well. But
what are your thoughts on the 97 Devils?
What?
They lost in the second round, bud.
To the New York Rangers? The team that lost to the Rangers?
Yeah, they lost in the second round to the Rangers.
They had pieces, but that wasn't as complete of a team as
that team wasn't as good as 2000 or 2001.
Okay, I was just asking.
Even 03, or even 03. Like, that team wasn't that. I mean, they played Montreal first round. They played they just ran into the Rangers in the second round of playoffs. They had chances to win the games. They just didn't do it. It just didn't work out for them. So
yeah, I mean, it just that 01 team had everything. Like all right, so Jason Arnott had a career year points per game wise. He was over a
best line in hockey.
That A line was ridiculous. And
you could make the argument, Phil. You could make the argument that was the best line in hockey for like a 2-3 year stretch.
I would say
you could make an argument.
I mean, in 2001, the 2 top scoring lines in hockey were Sakic, Tanguay, and Hayduk, points-wise. And then the second one was Straka, Kovalev, and Lang, Pittsburgh's second line, and they had over 200 points as well. But Yager and Lemieux from December on, and you didn't even matter who you put with them. It didn't matter if it was Kevin Stevens, Kelly Miller, whoever the hell they put with them. Like, that line might have been the best line in hockey from December on.
I'm still looking to see if there's any words on.
Nothing yet.
I don't. Yeah, I haven't seen anything. I'm trying to find if there's anything else, but I can't see anything else.
No, I think that spot. Hey, we'll see what happens with Sully, but and also one other thing I just saw that looks like Quenneville had a second interview with Anaheim, so that's probably the path they're going down.
Yeah.
They shouldn't, in my opinion, they shouldn't do that, but that's the path they chose.
Well, here's kind of the next question I have. Has Quenneville paid his price?
Well, the NHL determined that. Whether or not public opinion wants to disagree with the NHL, there's nothing really that they can do. It's
right. Yeah, the NHL decided that he's allowed to interview for jobs now, and he's allowed to coach again. So,
I mean, it's been that way for a while too.
Right. I mean, everything's been in the hands of the commissioner, right? So that's pretty much where it's been. Public opinion is going to say one thing. If the NHL says it's okay for him and he's paid his time and he's showed what he needed to show, he's going to get back in the league. Me personally, I would have gone David Carl in Anaheim because you want to grow. You want to have a team grow together, similar to what you would have had in Tampa with John Cooper for those years. With that young team, mold them the right way. Anaheim's ready, but with the right guy. I don't think Joel Quenneville is that guy, and I don't think the Anaheim Ducks are making the playoffs next year.
I don't know. I look back on this, and I look back at Joel Quenneville and when he came to Chicago and what he did with that team. And they were a very, very, very young team when he went there in 2008, 2009. They were, and Chicago before that, they went 45 and 22. They were 40 and 34. They finished third in the division in 2007, 2008. That was Kane and Taves' rookie year. Kane had 72 points as a rookie. Taves had 54 in only 64 games. And he could have easily been the guy that won the Calder that year, not Kane. Taves was actually third in the voting. But it was the next year they went to 102 points because they fired Dennis Savard after 4 games. And then Quenneville came in and went 45, 22, and 11. And they finished with 104 points and second in that division behind Detroit. And they lost to Detroit in the conference finals. I don't think Anaheim is that same team. But if there's any guy that could come in and turn that team into a playoff team with maybe a couple more moves, I mean, it's a guy with a Hall of Fame caliber resume in Quenneville.
I don't think second winningest coach of all time.
Yeah, I mean,
this is a tough one for me because I also don't fully blame Joel Quenneville on everything because you still had Stan Bowman. Stan Bowman's back in the league, and I think it's a little bit of a PR problem, but for the Anaheim Ducks, go right ahead because you could name the coach tomorrow. Nobody's going to talk about the Anaheim Ducks except for the draft up until September. So you could do that. Harder for the New York Rangers to do that than the Anaheim Ducks.
Right.
Easier for the New York Islanders to do that than the New York Rangers, and so on. It's just I could keep going back and forth on that.
So, that's just my 2 cents on that. So,
yeah.
Anyway.
It's tough for me to say whether or not he should get another chance. I personally don't think it's a good look with everything that happened. I'm not going to go into that again because it's been talked about ad nauseum. But I just think that if there is a guy that can do it, it's him. I don't know if they're necessarily hoping for this. I think they're just trying to get the best coach that they can get to turn that team into a winner. I think that's lofty expectations. I don't think Trevor Zegras is nearly as talented as Patrick Kane. was. And yeah, I don't think I don't know if Trevor Zegras will ever be. I don't even know if he'll be on this team after this offseason.
Yeah, is he even a pack for beat guy? So
I don't think he is, and I think that's why Verbeek played hardball with him 3 years ago. I see him as, and I've said this before, I see him in the same way that Mike Modano and Steve Yzerman were viewed before Ken Hitchcock and Scotty Bowman came along, respectively. But I don't see him as nearly as talented, and I don't see him as the guy that figures it out. Could I be wrong? Sure. There's just something about him that screams, I'm perfectly content with Instagram hockey and all that other dumb shit that he likes to do.
Well, to go with this, it's because he's just not ready to win. He's caught up in being celebrity.
Yep.
You kind of need you need to have that motivation. Does he want to win? Does he want to be a celeb? And look, he's performed at a high level in, let's say, the World Junior Tournament. That's a short time. Who knows what it would be like if they ever got to the playoffs? If he got to the playoffs, got a little bit further, got a taste of winning, and then just fell short, everybody might feel differently about it, but that's not necessarily the case. Not right now.
No, I hear you. So,
all right. So I guess we'll do last words on Mike Sullivan getting the job, supposedly, guys. Jim, we'll start with you because like I said, if this does happen, it's going to happen like as soon as we're off the
yeah, I know. Well, yeah, no, I know.
We gotta go right back on.
I gotta run anyway because I gotta get outside and do some yard work.
Yeah.
Outside. But I'll say this. I mean, look, it's expected hire. But you better figure out what your philosophy is and who is on this team, because I don't care if you have Scotty Bowman coming. If guys don't want to buy into the system, you're gonna be in the same spot you are 2 years from now. And
agreed.
I'll say it again. I think his best years are behind him.
Phil?
I don't agree with the best years behind him thing. I mean, I guess if we're talking about cup wins, maybe that could be the case. But I just think that he's done a very good job with – hold on. Where are you seeing this, that it's official? Because I'm not seeing anything right now.
No.
I see Rangers discussion saying something on it.
Yeah, where are you seeing this, Tom? Because I'm not seeing anything from Vince. No, his still last tweet is the one from an hour ago. Johnny Red actually brings up a good point here. Why are his best years behind him? Are you just specifically talking about the Cups?
No, I'm not talking about the Cups. I think, I agree with you that he's done a good job with the pieces he's had in front of him, but some of those teams have actually underperformed, and defensively, the team in front of their goaltending and some of the decision-making of putting out a lineup is not there where it used to be. That's just my opinion and what I see. And that's all I'm saying. I'm not just talking about the Cups because the Cups were 2016, 2017. Last playoff series win for the Pittsburgh Penguins was 2018 in the first round. The last time they were in situations, they've all fell short. The series against the Rangers, 3 times, 3 multi-goal game leads in games 5, 6, and 7. Could not close the deal, missing Sidney Crosby. There's been questionable coaching decisions, questionable lineup decisions that have led me to make that decision. I want him to go prove me wrong. I'm not saying it's a bad hire, but that's just what I'm seeing.
I just don't know how you could pin all of that on him.
I'm not saying it's all on him, but at some point, when you're up 3 goals in a game, and you lose the lead, and you're not calling a timeout, or you're not figuring out a way to change momentum.
Sure, yeah.
That's on a coach.
Fair.
And I've seen it too many times over the last couple of years with him, and I saw it at Four Nations too. And yeah, I'm gonna hold, that.
Here's the counterpoint, though. Johnny Red's right. Third string goaltender in that series. Tristan Jarry missed a lot of that.
You still should have won the series. You had the Penguins had 3-goal leads, multiple 2-goal leads in both games 5, 6, and 7.
Yeah.
And still lost. With a good defensive core in front of them. And didn't play defense. That's my point.
Oh, no. But, Jim, don't you know it's all Jacob Trouba's fault for hitting Crosby?
Look, again.
I get it.
Everybody.
The goaltending was extremely bad in that series for Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
All right.
No, but they still had a chance to win the series. That's just my opinion.
All right. So, yeah, we're going to sign it off there. I know we got everybody asking about Toronto with the fallout. That's one thing we haven't covered, what the fallout is for Toronto if they lose this game.
Well, that's a topic for another day.
That's a topic for another day, but we got 400 people that are watching right now, guys. Everybody, thank you very much. We're kind of in a holding pattern, but we're going to call it all right here. Hopefully the Rangers don't sign Mike Sullivan until next Wednesday, because they should. They need to find themselves, figure out what this organizational philosophy is going to be. But maybe Chris Drury just wants to hire a BU guy. So there we go.
There you go.
All right, guys, everybody, take it easy. We're just gonna wrap it off right here, and we'll talk to you soon if there's more news coming. Oh, wait on. Which club did I make now?
No, he's saying you didn't make a lot of mess ups today.
Oh, okay. All right. I thought I did.
Thanks. Thanks. You have your own Tony Reilly here. I see it. All right, nice.
Yeah.
the commenters are by Tony Reilly.
I haven't watched
the
that.
little Stat Boys.
Yep, Stat Boys. There we go. No worries. So let's go.
All right, guys, take it easy. Have a good one. We got yard work and work to do tonight. So talk to you later.
Later, Andrew.